Chapter 39-49. There are still some things in Jianghu that haven't been settled yet. Let's talk about it after I retire. Lu Qijin was a little disappointed. He suddenly felt that his swordsmanship wasn't that great anymore. In front of Tangguo were 3 treasure maps. I've already figured out this map. Lu Qijin, help me find the treasure and bring it back. The two spent about half a month. With the help of the map and the system, they found a treasure. Tangguo divided the treasure into 2 parts. Half of it was moved to the Falling Flower Palace, and the other half was given to Lu Qijin. After the treasure was moved, she arranged for people to restore the mountain where the treasure was hidden to its original state, as if no one had ever been there. She didn't forget that the soul-snatching sect and the soul-departing palace had once destroyed the Falling Flower Palace. She took out 2 treasure maps and made them fall into the hands of the soul-snatching sect and the soul-departing palace. She also deliberately made it known to the Jianghu. Nia Yunxing and his group found a place to hide. Half a month later, the manor lord gradually regained consciousness. At this time, the entire Jianghu was discussing the treasure map. Nia he wholeheartedly wanted the treasure map, but he didn't expect the soul-snatching sect and the soul-departing palace to get it. He coveted it. Nia he didn't have the mood to ask Nia Yunxing and his group. He just wanted to get the treasure map as soon as possible. Nia he, who was greedy, used the same trick again. He pretended to be Nia Yunxing and killed his way into the soul-snatching sect's territory. He killed everyone he saw. After all, the soul-snatching sect was an evil sect. Even if it was destroyed, the people of Jianghu would only celebrate and say that evil people had their retribution. In just one night, Nia he killed everyone in the soul-snatching sect. He left some people alive so that he could frame Nia Yunxing. He took the treasure map and left excitedly. In order to avoid trouble, he went to the soul-departing palace at dawn. Although news spread quickly in the Jianghu, the news about the soul-snatching sect only spread overnight. Before the people of the soul-departing palace received the news, Nia he, who pretended to be Nia Yunxing, had already killed his way in. Nia he was determined to steal the treasure map. There were 2 treasure maps. He only needed the one in the Elixir Valley to get the treasure map. By the time he escaped, the news of the extermination of the 2 evil sects had already spread like wildfire in the martial arts world. Although there were countless people in the martial arts world who wanted the treasure map, it was simply impossible for them to wipe out the entire sect, let alone whether they could bear to do so. Moreover, the treasure map was stolen by Nia he's stolen the treasure map. For a moment, all the people in the martial arts world looked at Nia he. It must be Nia. Madame Nia's face was cold. Last time, he pretended to be Yunxing, killed the 7 Stars sect's disciples, and stole the treasure map. It should be him. The old manor lord's face was filled with hatred. Back then, the treasure map in my hands was most likely stolen by him. In the end, because of his instigation, I thought it was Di Weiping. Evil disciple, Nia he, that evil disciple. Can you contact Weiping? The old manor lord asked. Nia he is definitely hiding his strength. If he wants to escape, not many people can stop him. If we can find a few more top experts to deal with him, we have a better chance of winning. After listening to the old manor lord's words, Nia he and Madame Nia didn't have any hope for Nia he. Now that the other party had destroyed 2 sects in a row and even framed Nia Yunxing for this matter, they did not intend to give Nia he any chance. Madame Nia's face was bitter. I'm afraid eldest senior brother was bitterly disappointed. He hasn't appeared since that day. Chapter 39-50. The old manor master frowned. How about we ask someone to look for it? With Shi-er's name, he should be able to help you. In the old manor master's impression, Di Weiping was infatuated with his daughter. He believed that as long as his daughter asked, Di Weiping definitely wouldn't refuse. He had clearly forgotten that he had heartlessly crippled Di Weiping's martial arts and expelled him from the manor. If he didn't want to know where the treasure map was, he wouldn't have spared Di Weiping's life. Unfortunately, Di Weiping didn't show up, so the old manor master's plan fell through. After learning the truth from the old manor master, Madame Nia was also a bit absent-minded. As for Nia He, after obtaining the 2 treasure maps, he remembered Nia Yunqing as an obstacle and launched a martial arts hunt for Nia Yunqing in the name of the manor. Unexpectedly, Nia Yunqing's martial arts improved rapidly these days. Even though he was the only one who could fight, he was still able to beat back the people who attacked them. Ruan Qianling tried to practice the secret martial arts book from the Falling Flower Palace. She was clearly a martial arts genius, but for some reason, her progress was slow. She had no choice but to practice her previous martial arts. With Ruan Qianling's current martial arts skills, she could barely be considered second-rate in the martial arts world and could somewhat protect herself. On this day, the few of them experienced another wave of pursuers and found a secluded place to rest for a while. We can't just sit here and wait for death. We must find a way to publicize Nia He's scheme, Ruan Qianling said. Nia He disguised himself as you and occasionally killed disciples from other sections. Right now, the entire martial arts world is looking for us. If this continues, we won't be able to move an inch. That's right. We have to expose Nia He's scheme. They all looked at Nia Yunqing and frowned at the same time because they discovered that Nia Yunqing's originally wheat-colored skin had turned white. No, it could even be said that it could be broken by a blow. Indeed, we must expose Nia He. Nia Yunqing didn't feel the others' gazes. He started to talk about his idea. Why don't we beat them at their own game? Didn't Little Ling draw the treasure map of the Spirit Potion Valley? Let's leak this information to Nia He and catch a turtle in a jar. However, Ruan Qianling did not immediately agree. She realized that Nia Yunqing was too strange. When he spoke, his voice was much softer and faintly sharp. Especially just now, when Nia Yunqing unconsciously gestured with his fingers and posture, as if he was imitating a woman. Idiot, what happened to you? Ruan Qianling nervously grabbed Nia Yunqing's wrist. She did not expect to be pushed away by Nia Yunqing. There was a hint of disgust between his brows. This made Ruan Qianling shocked, puzzled, and upset. The old manor master and Madame Nia Yunqing also noticed, but Nia Yunqing quickly avoided their gazes. I'll arrange this. Doesn't Ling know how to disguise herself? I'll have to trouble you to disguise mother and grandfather. After saying that, Nia Yunqing left. Ruan Qianling's face was full of worry. Don't you feel like something's wrong with him recently? Madame Nia and the old manor master nodded in unison. Not only was something wrong, it was very wrong. However, they couldn't think too much about it right now. In less than 2 days, Nia Yunqing returned and said that he had already arranged the plan. There was indeed a rumor in the martial arts world that the last treasure map was in Ruan Qianling's hands. Everyone believed it, including Nia He. He already guessed that it was most likely Ruan Qianling who drew the contents of the treasure map. Di Weiping had been hiding in the dark and had no intention of showing himself. If he showed himself now, Madame Nia would definitely look at him with teary eyes. Chapter 39:51. Even if little junior sister was deceived, he didn't want to be involved with her after experiencing so much. After Nia He died, he would leave this place and go to the Yellow Sand Lake. At this point, Tangguo didn't pay attention to it anymore. Tangguo returned to the Falling Flower Palace mainly to prepare for her retirement. She moved half of the treasures to the Falling Flower Palace and left the other half to Lu Qijin. She said that it was a betrothal gift, and Lu Qijin gladly accepted it. Palace Master, do you really not want us anymore? Hearing Tanggua say that she wouldn't be the palace master in the future, the members of the Falling Flower Palace, including a little girl who looked about 10 years old, were anxious. Tanggua raised her hand to stop them from talking. Didn't you take good care of the Falling Flower Palace when I wasn't here? You were also very satisfied with young palace master's performance. This child is talented. It's only a matter of time before he becomes a top master. Besides, you protectors are also top masters. The Falling Flower Palace is protected by the Chimenduinja Formation at the foot of the mountain. The Falling Flower Palace doesn't care about Jianghu matters, so there's no need to worry about people targeting the Falling Flower Palace. Tanggua took off her mask and revealed her true face. If you want to retire in the future, you just need to find a successor. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to open a tea shop at the foot of the mountain and live a different life. If the Falling Flower Palace has any difficulties, just send someone to find me. Chiu Ming and the others widened their eyes and didn't know what to say for a moment. When they saw Tanggua's face again, they fell silent. Wasn't this the mysterious Miss Tang in Jianghu? It turned out that their palace master was such a person. She secretly stirred up trouble behind their backs and even tricked Lu Qijin to be her attendant. The reason why they knew her was that they once searched for the young palace master and traveled all over Jianghu. Naturally, they met Tanggua. I'll stay in the Falling Flower Palace for another month. After I'm done with the things here, I'll resign as the palace master. In the future, you'll assist the new palace master in managing the Falling Flower Palace. No matter how Chiu Ming persuaded her, Tanggua had made up her mind. They had to give up. While Tanggua was arranging the Falling Flower Palace, Lu Qijin was waiting at the foot of the mountain. When he was bored from waiting, he would practice his sword. In the past, he used to think that practicing swordsmanship alone was very interesting, but now, he only felt that it was boring. She didn't know if it was because the sword was no longer fun, or if his heart was no longer on the sword. The people who were originally loitering outside the Falling Flower Palace did not dare to go over to inquire after seeing this. They thought that Lu Qijin was planning to have a sword duel with the Falling Flower Palace master. A month later, Tanggua finished arranging the affairs of the Falling Flower Palace. At this moment, a carrier pigeon flew over. Chiu Ran took the letter from the carrier pigeon and subconsciously handed it to Tanggua. Receiving Tanggua's gaze, she had no choice but to pass the letter to the new palace master so that they could read it together. After reading it, Chiu Ming and the other enforcers were a little stunned. Their faces were full of shock as they said to Tanggua, "Gong." "No, old palace master." Before they could finish, Tanggua rolled her eyes at them. "Old palace master." She was old. "Miss Tang, yeah, he is dead." His conspiracy was exposed. It was Nya Yunxing who united everyone in Jianghu to eradicate him. The one who gave him the fatal blow was the old manor master. He stabbed Nya He in the heart. Perhaps he was too excited. After killing Nya He, the old manor master also died. Chiu Ming quickly changed the way she addressed her. The old palace master's eyes were fierce. No matter what, the other party was the old palace master in her heart. So fast. Tanggua was a little surprised. "There's another matter." Chiu Ming hesitated for a moment before saying, during their dispute, Nya He severed Wan Qianling's meridians. Chapter 3952. She may really be disabled, which means she can't practice martial arts in the future. Seeing that Tanggua didn't have any reaction, Chiu Ming and the others were not worried anymore. They continued, Nya Yunxing revived the villa and became the new owner of the Drifting Cloud Villa. He will marry Wan Qianling soon. In order to thank everyone for helping to eliminate Nia Yunqing decided to take everyone to find the treasure after the wedding and share it with everyone. Speaking of this, Qiu Ming and the other guardians' eyes were full of smiles. Fortunately, their old palace master had the foresight to empty the treasure trove early on. When those people found the treasure, they would only see an empty mountain. When Tang Guo went down the mountain, Lu Qijin was practicing his sword. Seeing her, his eyes brightened. He quickly put away his sword and ran to her. Nia, he is dead. Guo, can we get married now? Tang Guo glanced at him. Why are you in such a hurry? Are you greedy for my swordsmanship? Actually, not all of it. It's just a part of it, a very small part, Lu Qijin said quickly. Swordsmanship is up to fate. The main reason is that I want to get married. Tang Guo and Lu Qijin opened a tea shop at the foot of the mountain and hired 2 waiters to help. When they were free, she and Lu Qijin would practice swordsmanship in the backyard. They had a good time. In the Drifting Cloud Villa, Nia Yunqing and Ruan Qianling were getting married. They invited important figures in the Jianghu, so the wedding day was very lively. This scene seemed to be really peaceful. Next, they would welcome a new life. However, no one knew that on the wedding night, when Ruan Qianling and Nia Yunqing were intimate, she was slapped away by him and almost got hurt. Yunqing, I think you're sick. Should we invite people from the Elixir Valley to find the treasure with the condition that they treat your illness? Ruan Qianling wasn't angry. Even though she felt wronged, she thought it was because Nia Yunqing was sick or was poisoned. You're thinking too much. I'm not sick. Nia Yunqing refused. Ling, you should sleep early. On the wedding night, Nia Yunqing left Ruan Qianling and went to another room. From that day on, he had never been close to Ruan Qianling again. Ruan Qianling had always thought that this might be the after effects of being poisoned. She didn't want Nia Yunqing to continue like this. She had secretly invited many doctors and asked about his situation, but she didn't get an answer. One day, Ruan Qianling entered Nia Yunqing's room and found women's clothes, undergarments, and rouge. She was shocked and scared and began to observe Nia Yunqing's whereabouts. It wasn't until he personally saw Nia Yunqing wearing a woman's dress and applying rouge and face powder to disguise himself as a woman that he almost cried out in shock. She couldn't accept all of this. In her heart, she still thought that Nia Yunqing was sick, which was why he was acting so strangely. She wanted to treat Nia Yunqing's illness more urgently. She rushed over and knocked over the rouge and face powder that Nia Yunqing had carefully prepared for her. Nia Yunqing, how did you become like this? Let's go and treat your illness, okay? This should be the after effects of being poisoned in the western region. We should go to the Elixir Valley immediately. Why don't we give the treasure map to the Elixir Valley to cure your illness first? She wanted to pull Nia Yunqing away, but she couldn't. She was rudely thrown out of the room by Nia Yunqing. Ruan Qianling had used many methods, but she couldn't pull Nia Yunqing back. What made her even more unbearable was that not long after, some young and handsome men began to appear around Nia Yunqing. The 2 of them stayed in the room for half a day and didn't come out. Chapter 3953. Ruan Qianling couldn't stand these days and rushed to find Madame Nia. Ever since the incident ended, Madame Nia shut herself in and didn't care about anything. When she heard about it, she was also concerned. Thus, she followed Ruan Qianling to find Nia Yunqing. When they opened the door and entered, they found Nia Yunqing hugging the young man intimately. They were stunned and didn't know what to say. Ruan Qianling couldn't help but cry. How could this be? Madame Nia also fainted from anger. Nia Yunqing was still filial to Madame Nia and sent the young man away impatiently. Because of this, he and Ruan Qianling fell into a cold war. It hadn't even been a month since their wedding. Ruan Qianling was confused about the future and started to doubt whether she had made the right choice. However, she still stubbornly believed that Nie Yunqing was sick and that it wasn't his intention to do this. He just couldn't control himself. Ruan Qianling didn't know what the problem was, but she didn't want to give up on pulling Nie Yunqing back. Ever since they had a falling out last time, Nie Yunqing acted more and more casually. Previously, he even secretly used rouge and face powder and wore women's clothes. Now, in the manner, he was doing this openly and didn't care about what the world thought. The news of Nie Yunqing getting close to the young man gradually spread in the pugilistic world. Ruan Qianling saw that the situation wasn't right and quickly asked people to spread the news that Nie Yunqing was like this now because of the after effects of being poisoned. When the people in the pugilistic world heard this explanation, they all believed it. Seeing that she couldn't persuade Nie Yunqing, Ruan Qianling decided to use another method. While Nie Yunqing wasn't paying attention, she drugged him. After drugging Nie Yunqing, she took Nie Yunqing and the 2 treasure maps to the outside of Elixir Valley. Yunqing, I hope you don't blame me. I'm doing this for your own good, Ruan Qianling said firmly. Even if it goes against the pugilistic world, as long as you can go back to the past, I'll save you even if the whole pugilistic world wants to kill me. Then, Ruan Qianling got off the carriage with the 2 treasure maps and called the people inside at the entrance of Elixir Valley. Not long after, a person came out. Ruan Qianling told them the purpose of her visit. She claimed that as long as they helped save Nie Yunqing, she would give the 2 treasure maps to the Spirit Potion Valley. Treasure map. Ruan Qianling took out the treasure map and showed it to him. The Spirit Potion Valley had a good reputation. Ruan Qianling wasn't worried because she had never heard of anyone stealing treasures. Unexpectedly, the man looked at it and shook his head. Do you have anything else? The Spirit Potion Valley doesn't need this treasure map. Ruan Qianling was dumbfounded. She repeatedly explained the preciousness of this treasure map, but that person was very impatient. Seeing that she really could not take out anyone else, he turned around and disappeared into the clouds. Ruan Qianling looked at the clouds in a daze. Suddenly, a cold wind came from behind her. Then, the treasure map in her hand was taken away. She wanted to snatch it back, but it was too late. Ling He, you actually drugged me. You're too willful. Ruan Qianling turned around and saw Nie Yunqing speaking softly. His demeanor was becoming more and more like a woman. For a moment, she did not know where the sadness came from. She broke down and cried. Yunqing, how did you become like this? I just wanted you to go back to the past. Brother Yunqing, aren't you well now? A young man walked to Nie Yunqing. Brother Yunqing, people everywhere are waiting for you to go treasure hunting together. Let's go. Ruan Qianling had tears in her eyes. She blankly looked at the direction where Nie Yunqing and the young man had disappeared. She didn't know what to say. Chapter 3954. Everyone in Jianghu had heard about Nie Yunqing's intimate behavior with the young man. At first, they didn't pay much attention to it. However, when they saw Nie Yunqing's behavior on the way, they were shocked. On the way to the treasure, Nie Yunqing was like a daughter wearing a man's belt. She even exchanged flirtatious glances with the young men next to her. Especially when she saw a slightly handsome man in Jianghu, she would stare at him with a very special gaze. Anyone who was looked at by that gaze would feel disgusted. Even though they knew in their hearts that Nie Yunqing's behavior might be the after effects of being poisoned, they still couldn't accept it. Everyone made up their minds that after the treasure was divided, they would have less contact with Nie Yunqing in the future. Ruan Qianling didn't follow them to the treasure hunt. Nie Yunqing and the others were too fast, and they were all Jianghu people. To be honest, without any martial arts, she didn't dare to follow them at all. In the past, Ruan Qianling, who could beat her opponents until they were looking for their teeth on the ground with a piece of red silk and was called the Witch of the Falling Flower Palace, had now timidly stepped onto the path of Jianghu. She was scared. Previously, when she took Nia Yunxing from the mountain villa to the Spirit Medicine Valley, the journey was long and took several days. Along the way, they met many people. There were new faces and familiar faces. Often, when she met those familiar faces, she was very unfamiliar with their gazes. Especially after she left, she heard them whispering to each other. Although she had lost her martial arts, her eyes and ears were still very smart. Those people said, if it weren't for Nia Yunqing's face, I would really want to argue with her about the past. It's also because Nia Yunqing is generous and willing to share the treasure with us. Otherwise, I would definitely settle the past with her. I heard that her meridians are broken. No wonder after Nia he was eliminated, she didn't come out to be arrogant. She knows how much she's worth and doesn't dare to come out. As long as she obediently stays in the Drifting Cloud Mountain Villa to take care of her husband and children and doesn't come out to cause trouble, for the sake of the Drifting Cloud Mountain Villa and Nia Yunqing, we won't take the initiative to look for trouble. Although they didn't talk much, most of the discussion revolved around the mountain villa, Nia Yunqing, and the treasure trove. In other words, if he didn't have these things to rely on, he would probably encounter all kinds of trouble in the Jianghu. At that time, she was wholeheartedly trying to save Nia Yunqing. Even when she heard these words, she could only grit her teeth and silently endure it. No matter how sad she was, there was nothing she could do. If his meridians couldn't be broken and he couldn't practice martial arts, then he would be a cripple in this Jianghu. She was still practicing the cultivation technique she had given to Nia Yunqing. Unfortunately, the effects were minimal and she was in despair. Ruan Qianling sat in a carriage marked with the words, Drifting Cloud Manor. Along the way, she still heard all kinds of gossip. However, she could only sullenly hide in the carriage and not appear. She did not dare to say a word of rebuttal. Qianling, where's Yunqing? When Ruan Qianling returned to the manor, Madame Nia greeted her and asked about her. Ruan Qianling spoke the truth, which made Madame Nia very disappointed. The people from the Spirit Potion Valley aren't even interested in the treasure map. What should we do? At this time, Ruan Qianling was disappointed, but she still hadn't given up on Nia Yunqing. Suddenly, she remembered something. Perhaps, there's something the people from the Spirit Potion Valley will be interested in. What is it? Madame Nia grabbed Ruan Qianling's hand in surprise. Qianling, what is it? Where can we find it? Hurry and tell us. Chapter 3955. Ruan Qianling thought of Falling Flower Palace. Everyone in the martial arts world knew that Falling Flower Palace had 3 treasures. One was a martial arts secret manual and the Buddha lotus seed that could bring the dead back to life. Of these 2, she got one, and the other was taken by someone else. Then, there was only one left, a divine sword. Ruan Qianling had never seen it before, but that didn't mean she didn't know where it was. She also knew that to go to Falling Flower Palace, one didn't have to go through the place with the Qimen Duanjia. Falling Flower Palace also had a secret passage that she had discovered by accident. Going up from this secret passage would lead to the place where the divine sword was. Ruan Qianling had hope again. The Elixir Valley should be tempted by a treasure like the divine sword, right? Hearing Ruan Qianling's words, Madame Nia also hurriedly said that they were lucky, but she hesitated. Then how do we get this divine sword? The meaning of this question was obvious. Ruan Qianling had been expelled from Falling Flower Palace and probably couldn't go up. Even if they knew there was a divine sword, Drifting Cloud Manor couldn't fight their way up, right? They didn't even know if they could win. I know a secret passage to Falling Flower Palace. When I was very young, I saw the divine sword. Joy finally appeared on Madame Nie's face. That's really great. With this divine sword, Yunxing can be saved. However, even if we know the secret passage, we can't do it with just the two of us, nor can anyone else in the manor. Why don't we wait for Yunxing to come back and discuss it? At that time, you can go with Yunxing. With Yunxing's martial arts skills, he can leave after taking the item. Guan Qianling thought so too, so the two settled down for now. Actually, Madame Nie thought that if her eldest senior brother was willing to meet her, she might be able to ask him for help. Unfortunately, he hadn't shown up for a long time. She didn't know that after Nie he died, Di Weiping attended Tang Guo and Lu Qijian's wedding and returned to Yellow Sand Lake. Little junior sister was already in the past to him. The martial arts world didn't belong to him anymore. Guan Qianling and Madame Nie waited and waited. Before Nie Yunxing returned, they first heard that Nie Yunxing had a falling out with the entire martial arts world. The manor lord found the treasure. After they went in, they found that there was not even an extra tile, let alone a treasure. Everyone thought that the manor head had secretly taken the treasure for himself and fought with the manor head out of jealousy. Fortunately, manor head's martial arts are superior, so no one can do anything to manor head. None of them were fools. They had been eyeing the drifting cloud mountain villa every day. They had fallen out with Nie Yunxing only because the treasure was gone, and they wanted to find an excuse to vent. If they could get Nie Yunxing to compensate them, that would be even better. Although Nie Yunxing's behavior had become feminine, he was still rebellious. Seeing that these people were being unreasonable, he was furious. What's more, his martial arts should be the best in Jianghu, right? Why should he be afraid of these people? After the Jianghu people were beaten up by Nie Yunxing, they finally calmed down, but they also basically fell out with each other. At this time, there were all kinds of strange rumors about Nie Yunxing in the Jianghu, and all of them were unpleasant to hear. Nie Yunxing returned 3 days later, still with the young man from before. Guan Qianling panicked. Thinking of the proper business, she found an opportunity to talk to Nie Yunxing about the divine sword. Nie Yunxing was indeed interested in the divine sword. The main reason was that he found that the weapon in his hand was no longer worthy of his martial arts, and he needed to change it to a better one. Therefore, he readily agreed to go to the Falling Flower Palace to find the divine sword. Coincidentally, Guan Qianling took Nie Yunxing and the man who secretly followed them to the foot of the mountain. They happened to rest at Tang Guo's tea shop. Chapter 3956. Guan Qianling had never seen Tang Guo's true face. Now that Tang Guo had retired, she didn't even know her identity. She didn't discuss the divine sword with Nie Yunxing. After all, it was very important and it would cause some unnecessary trouble if it was leaked. But she didn't expect that Tang Guo and Lu Qijin were married and they opened a tea shop here. She didn't know what to say. What was more coincidental was that Luo Lisin was also there. After Niehe's death, Luo Lisin came out to wander around again. When she inquired about the Drifting Cloud Villa, she heard another incredible thing. Tang Guo and Lu Qijin were married. In her opinion, the guy who only had eyes for swords had a wife. She hurried over to see the situation. Even if she had no interest in Lu Qijin, it didn't prevent her from coming over to see what was strange. However, she didn't see anything strange. Instead, she saw that Lu Qijin had become a big dog that only listened to Tang Guo. She had been sitting here for a while and found that wherever Tang Guo was, Lu Qijin's eyes would be there. So, was this still the Lu Qijin who only had eyes for swords? She heard that Lu Qijin hadn't been looking for people to compete with swords for many years. Miss Luo, why are you looking at me? Tang Guo reminded Luo Lisin, who was in a daze. Luo Lisin quickly shook her head. Nothing, just looking. As soon as she finished speaking, she felt Lu Qijin's vigilance. It was as if he would draw his sword and cut her at any time. She quickly looked away and focused her attention on Wan Qianling. Wan Qianling was now dressed as a married woman. In Luo Lisan's opinion, Wan Qianling and Nia Yunxing liked each other and should be very happy after getting married. After all, this was the ending they both looked forward to. However, the reality was different. The Wan Qianling in front of her seemed to have lost her former glory. What made her even more surprised was that Nia Yunxing was behaving strangely. He was actually exchanging flirtatious glances with a young man. She cried out in her heart. Fortunately, she retreated quickly enough. This Nia Yunxing was truly a pervert. Wan Qianling no longer dared to look directly at Luo Lisan. After a few years, Luo Lisan was still the #1 beauty in the pugilistic world. The reason why Luo Lisan appeared here was because she had a new target recently. She chased after that person all the way here, but that person had disappeared, which made her feel quite annoyed. Not long after, Wan Qianling and Nia Yunxing left. Luo Lisan also took her leave. Lu family's fourth brother came out of the backyard with lingering fear. He patted his chest and said, "Did that woman leave?" Tang Gua and Lu Qijin nodded. Only then did Lu Qijin feel relieved. Who knew what he had been through these days? He had indeed come out to find a girl he liked, and he had tricked her into becoming his wife by comparing her beauty. He heard that there was a #1 beauty in the Jianghu, so he decided to go and take a look. It was just that one look, and he was stuck to her. At first glance, he knew that this was not the girl he liked. He didn't expect her to pursue him so relentlessly. Wherever he went, she would follow. Wan Qianling and Nia Yunxing should have gone to the Falling Flower Palace. Lu Qijin ignored Lu family's fourth brother. How could his brother's matters be more important than his wife's matters? Besides, his brother was still alive and well here. He wouldn't die. They probably want to go and steal the divine sword. When Wan Qianling appeared, Tang Gua knew the truth of the matter. Don't worry about it. They can't steal it. Not to mention that the divine sword was not in its original place. Even if it was, the protectors of the Falling Flower Palace would be enough to make them suffer. When she retired, she returned the 3 treasures to the Falling Flower Palace and handed them over to the 4 protectors to guard. With their martial arts, Nia Yunxing was still not their match. Even though he had improved quite quickly. However, Wan Qianling's choice made her feel that she deserved everything that had happened to her. Chapter 3957. As long as we pass through this secret passage, we can go to the place where the divine sword is. This secret passage wasn't easy to walk. The mountain path was rugged and narrow. If they weren't careful, they could fall off the cliff. She looked down and could only see the white fog slowly rising. She couldn't see the bottom of the cliff at all. She couldn't help but feel a little scared. In the past, her martial arts were high. When she walked this path, she didn't think it was scary and walked easily. Now, her meridians were broken and her martial arts were crippled. She couldn't even walk properly. She had to be careful. Nia Yunxing walked in front of her. He didn't even think about helping her. Wan Qianling brainwashed herself that it was because Nia Yunxing was sick. When Nia Yunxing recovered, they would go back to how they were before. That poison was really powerful. It actually changed Nia Yunxing into a different person. Wan Qianling looked at the familiar path and sighed. She hoped that the people of the Spirit Potion Valley would be tempted by the divine sword and cure the disease. When the time came, she would ask Yunxing to drive away that strange man. Seeing him every day really made her uncomfortable. After an hour, they arrived at the pool where the divine sword was kept. Ruan Qianling had accidentally come here before and tried to pull out the divine sword. Just like the legend said, she couldn't pull it out. This time, she came here with great confidence. She hoped that Nie Yunxing could take the divine sword away. What's the divine sword you're talking about? Nie Yunxing stared at the vertical sword in the pool. His eyes showed some interest. The man beside him was the same. He even laughed. I didn't expect to see the divine sword of the Falling Flower Palace one day. It said that ordinary people can't pull out the divine sword. I don't know if it's true or not. The young man's face was full of interest. He didn't move. Instead, he called out to Nie Yunxing. Brother Nie, quickly try it. Ruan Qianling didn't expect that Nie Yunxing would say, since Brother Su is interested, why don't you try? What if you're the destined person for the divine sword? This. The man's surname Su hesitated. This isn't good, is it? As he spoke, he couldn't help but look in Ruan Qianling's direction. Ruan Qianling's expression turned ugly as she hurriedly said, Yunxing, quickly try and see if you can pull out the divine sword. It won't be good if you attract the attention of the people from Falling Flower Palace. Brother Su, hurry up and try. If you can't pull it out, I'll try again. Nie Yunxing didn't seem to see Ruan Qianling's embarrassed expression. His eyes were full of the man's surname Su. Then. I won't stand on ceremony. Ruan Qianling could not stop it. She felt very upset. He only hoped in his heart that the divine sword would not be pulled out by that man's surname Su. The divine sword was the treasure of the Falling Flower Palace. It shouldn't be something that any random person could obtain, right? The man's surname Su jumped to the center of the pool and stopped on a wooden stake, sizing up the rusty sword in front of him. He didn't doubt that this sword was a fake at all. There were many treasures out there, but they all had ordinary appearances. Only when they met a fated person would they reveal their true colors. He took a deep breath, grabbed the sword hilt with both hands, and pulled it up with all his might. The man's surname Su had originally thought that he wouldn't be able to pull it out, or that he would need a lot of strength. But when he felt that he could easily pull it out, he was a bit stunned. Because he used too much strength, he fell backwards. Nie Yunxing hurriedly jumped over and placed his palm on his back. By this time, the man's surname Su had already steadied himself. They didn't notice Ruan Qianling's pale face at all. They were all looking at the man's surname Su's hands. He was holding a broken sword with both hands. Chapter 39:58. They looked at the position where the divine sword had been placed. There was still half of the sword stuck inside. For a moment, the air was quiet. The divine sword is broken, Su said uncertainly. Nie Yunxing frowned. Since it's a divine sword, how can it be broken? At this point, they looked at Ruan Qianling at the same time. Ruan Qianling was angered by their questioning gazes. She wanted to refute something, but she didn't know what to say. It seems that this trip was in vain. Su sighed. Let's go out. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid that we will attract the attention of the Falling Flower Palace. Just as he finished speaking, there was a rumbling sound around them. It turned out that countless stones had fallen from the direction they came from, blocking the road. Not good, let's go. Nie Yunxing shouted. Without thinking, he grabbed the man's surname Su's wrist and pulled him to the door. Unfortunately, they had just arrived when all the gaps were blocked. It's blocked. We have to use internal energy to split it open. Ruan Qianling stood behind the two, watching them use their internal energy to split the stones. The gravel that they had split flew everywhere, splashing her face. She didn't know if she forgot to dodge, but she let the stones hit her face and body as if she didn't feel pain anymore. With tears in her eyes, she looked at Nya Yunxing without blinking. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the place blocked by the stones could be passed through. Nya Yunxing and Su walked in front. After 2 steps, the two turned back at the same time. Nya Yunxing frowned and asked Wan Qianling, "Why aren't you moving?" "Yunxing, do you not like me anymore?" Wan Qianling felt extremely sad. She had always been on guard against the women who admired Nya Yunxing, thinking that if those women backed off, Nya Yunxing would be hers. How could she have thought that one day Nya Yunxing would be close to a man? "Why are you thinking so much? Let's go." Nya Yunxing obviously didn't want to answer this question. He was actually very conflicted. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He should have liked Wan Qianling. Why did he want to get close to a man now? He had resisted before, but it seemed to be useless. As long as he met an outstanding young man, he would not be able to control himself. When Wan Qianling suggested going to the Spirit Potion Valley for treatment, there were actually 2 voices in his heart. The first voice said that he was going to see a doctor. The other voice said that this was the real him. He was not sick. As his martial arts became stronger and stronger, he could no longer control himself. He believed that he must have been born in the wrong body and that his nature should be that of a girl. Wan Qianling looked at him with sticky eyes, and he felt uncomfortable all over. On the other hand, Brother Su's interaction with him made him feel especially happy. Wan Qianling didn't get an answer from Nya Yunxing, so she didn't ask again. She silently followed behind Nya Yunxing. When the two weren't paying attention, her cold eyes fell on the man surnamed Su's back. The man surnamed Su and Nya Yunxing were talking and laughing, not noticing this scene at all. When Wan Qianling and the others came down, they rested for a while in Tangwa's tea shop. After a few sips of tea, they left. At this point, the Jianghu seemed to have calmed down. Nya Yunxing didn't like to wander around the Jianghu now. His martial arts were strong, but he didn't know how strong he was. Chapter 39-59. Right now, he didn't want to wander the pugilistic world at all. Instead, he liked to be with Su every day. Wan Qianling hadn't bothered him for a long time, which made him sigh in relief. Madame Nya saw that she couldn't stop this, so she could only give up and stay in the house. There were many new talents in the pugilistic world, but the number one beauty was still Luo Lisin. It was said that these new talents had all been pursued by Luo Lisin. Especially the 4 great young masters of the pugilistic world. They were almost touched by Luo Lisin's little hand. The 4 great young masters were the 4 brothers of the Lu family. It was just that these people were either skilled in martial arts or were unparalleled in medicine. Most importantly, they were good-looking and attracted Luo Lisin's attention. Seeing that there was a new dispute in the pugilistic world, something happened in the quiet drifting cloud villa. "Brother Su, how are you?" Nya Yunxing looked at Su, who was covered in blood, and his heart ached. He slapped Wan Qianling twice but didn't kill her directly. Perhaps it was the only restraint he had in his heart. That voice told him that he couldn't kill Wan Qianling. The reason he slapped Wan Qianling was because another voice said that Wan Qianling deserved to die for harming Brother Su, whom he cared about. Wan Qianling didn't escape. She thought she would die, but Nya Yunxing actually didn't kill her. Her desperate heart gave birth to some hope. Could it be that Nya Yunxing still had her in his heart? She didn't do anything. She just spent a few years immersing herself in it and found an opportunity to drug Su and break his meridians. She didn't show any mercy. She really had enough. She was like a cripple in front of them. "Brother Nya, I'm fine." Su's face was gloomy. My meridians are broken. I may not be able to practice martial arts. It's okay. I can protect you. Nia Yunqing didn't even think about it. Ruan Qianling was so angry that she almost spat out blood. This promise. How laughable. Wasn't that what Nia Yunqing had said to her before? Laughable, truly laughable. After this time, Nia Yunqing really protected Su in all aspects. Ruan Qianling saw this and felt that she had been too lenient. She should have killed him with a knife. Not long after, something that Ruan Qianling couldn't accept happened. She saw Su practicing martial arts. The martial arts manual she was practicing was the one she had stolen from the Falling Flower Palace. She rushed in front of Nia Yunqing and asked why. Nia Yunqing said, "Brother Su's meridians were broken by you. Since he can practice that secret manual, it's his destiny." Nia Yunqing was actually very happy, but Ruan Qianling didn't think so. Who did she betray the Falling Flower Palace and steal the martial arts manuals for? Nia Yunqing actually gave her things to that Su guy so easily. Did he still have her in his eyes? Ruan Qianling regretted it. She had resisted everything, so why did she end up like this? She regretted it. If she hadn't met Nia Yunqing in the beginning, if she hadn't stolen things from the Falling Flower Palace for Nia Yunqing, and if she hadn't fallen out with the Falling Flower Palace, would her ending have been like this? All these years, she hadn't had a single good day. Was this what she wanted? Ruan Qianling completely stopped fighting. Every day, she was like a dead person. She didn't think about going anywhere else. After about 3 years like this, she finally thought of going to the garden for a walk. She happened to meet Su and Nia Yunqing. "Brother Su, can't you stay?" It was Nia Yunqing's voice. Compared to before, Nia Yunqing's voice was softer, and his clothes were bolder. His appearance was completely like a girl's. Chapter 3960. What surprised Ruan Qianling was that the man with the surname Su was also wearing a girl's dress and had makeup on his face. His posture was similar to Nia Yunqing's. "Brother Nia, we are indeed not suitable for each other. You like men. What a coincidence. I also like men, so I'd better leave." The man with the surname Su flew out easily, and Nia Yunqing hurriedly chased after him. Ruan Qianling stayed in place, stunned. Why was the man with the surname Su here? Between the lightning and thunder, Ruan Qianling thought of a possibility. Nia Yunqing's problem was not the after-effects of the poison, but the secret martial arts manual. The man with the surname Su's appearance was strange. Could it be that he came for the secret martial arts manual? But he didn't expect that there was a problem with the manual. Ruan Qianling laughed out loud. It turned out that the secret martial arts manual could not be practiced by men. It turned out that it was her who caused Yunqing to become like this. However, he did let her down. "Hey, did you two hear? Something happened at Drifting Cloud Villa." Luo Lisin was used to drinking tea and chatting at Tanggua's place. She knew that the two did not care much about Jianghu matters, so she deliberately told them. In fact, the main reason was that the 4 great masters of Jianghu were all married, which made her upset. Only Tanggua's place was relatively quiet. No matter what she said, Tanggua would not laugh at her. Tanggua was surprised. What happened? Ruan Qianling fed Nia Yunqing a dispersing medicine. Luo Lisin clicked her tongue. Not only that, but she also dug out Nia Yunqing's kneecap and hand bones. It is said that he became crazy and nagged that he would only return to normal if he stopped practicing. No one knows what happened. Nia Yunqing could not accept it and yelled every day. Both of them were locked up. Tangua silently guessed that Wan Qianling must have known that Nie Yunqing's change was due to that manual, so she chose to do that. However, his nature had changed. Even if he was dispersing his martial arts, it seemed to be useless. These two people also knew how to torment themselves. They had tormented themselves half to death. I'm leaving. I don't know when I'll be able to find a man I like and get married. My father has been urging me a few times. Luo Lixin felt a little hopeless. In any case, she was the #1 beauty in the pugilistic world. Why couldn't she find a suitable person? She felt that those people had no foresight. She decided to leave the Jianghu and explore other places. Jianghu returned to its peaceful state. Tangguo later learned that Luo Lixin had gone beyond the Great Wall and had tricked her husband into coming back. After getting married, Luo Lixin finally won the title of the #1 beauty in the pugilistic world. The amount of time Tangguo had lived in this world did not change. 20 years have been added to her original lifespan. It was neither too short nor too long. One day, Luo Lixin came to the tea house to drink tea again, only to find that Tangguo and Lu Qijin were nowhere to be seen. The tea house was also given to those people to manage. After asking around, he found out that the two of them had turned into butterflies. For a moment, he sighed. During this period, they were very familiar with each other. She also met the people of Luohua Palace who addressed Tangguo as the old palace master. She also understood the other party's identity and called Tangguo out directly. She was still used to coming over to drink tea when she was bored. However, without Tangguo and Lu Qijin, who was dancing with swords, it seemed that something was missing. One day, a white-haired woman came to the tea house. Luo Lixin took a closer look and realized that this person was actually Wan Qianling. Wan Qianling also seemed to recognize Luo Lixin. The two of them looked at each other. Luo Lixin felt that Wan Qianling had changed a lot. However, Wan Qianling felt that Luo Lixin had not changed at all. If she had not gotten married, she would probably still be the #1 beauty in the pugilistic world. Chapter 3961. Luo Lixin didn't speak, but Wan Qianling said, "You were right in the past." This sentence made Luo Lixin confused. She saw Wan Qianling going in the direction of the Falling Flower Palace and quickly asked, "Are you going to the Falling Flower Palace?" "I want to see my master again." Luo Lixin was stunned and said subconsciously, "She has been gone for a long time. Don't you know?" She thought that Wan Qianling should know. After all, Tangguo was her master. How could she not know? Wan Qianling suddenly turned back. Master is skilled in martial arts. How could it be? The world is unpredictable. She is only a little older than me. I didn't expect to die so early. Lu Qijin, that blockhead, was romantic for once. He actually went with her. Luo Lixin's tone was sour. She envied such a love. "Wife, if you want, when you die in the future, you can also take me into the coffin to be buried with you." The man with a high nose and deep eyes beside Luo Lixin quickly said. Luo Lixin, bah. Luo Lixin saw that Wan Qianling really didn't seem to know anything, so she simply told her the truth. Wan Qianling was a little absent-minded after hearing this. The person surnamed Tang was her master. She only felt that her whole body was weak. She leaned to the side and didn't recover for a long time. Luo Lixin saw that she was crying and handed her handkerchief. "Wipe your tears. He's gone. It's useless even if you understand many things. Look at your white hair. You're so energetic. I'm afraid you won't live for many years. Go back and eat well for a few years." Luo Lixin's husband was speechless. Was this comforting? Guan Qianling stayed there for a long time and left, leaving Luo Lisin with a desolate back. Does my husband think that my words were harsh? Luo Lisin said. She used to be confused. Now that she regrets it, it is only because she is not living well. If everything she resisted led to a better life, then she will never regret it. Do you understand? Luo Lisin saw that the man was deep in thought and snorted coldly. How dare you look at me with doubt? Wife is right. I was wrong. Since you know you're wrong, then hurry up and tell me what you're hiding from me. Yes, Luo Lisin knew that her husband was hiding something from her. The man said hesitantly, wait until I leave this world, or when my wife leaves this world, then I'll tell you. How about that? Forget it. Miss Tang said that since the person I care about is unwilling to tell me a secret, then I might as well not ask. All right, you must tell me when the day comes. Many years later, Luo Lisin's life came to an end. She grabbed her husband's hand and said through gritted teeth, old thing, hurry up and tell me. Don't let me die with regrets. After she finished speaking, Luo Lisin saw that the other party hesitated for a moment before she whispered the secret that she had wanted to know for the rest of her life. In fact, her vision was gradually becoming blurry and she was about to fall into darkness. Her hearing wasn't as sharp as before, but she still heard what the other party said. Wife, the reason why I used all kinds of excuses to stop you from eating the steamed buns you mentioned before was because they were human meat buns. Miss Tang suggested that I keep this a secret. Luo Lisin, this time, I really can't die in peace. No wonder, everyone was acting strangely back then. It was her. The group of planes. Empress Dowager Qin, hello, everyone. Empress Dowager Qin had been observing the strange group interface in her mind for half a month. At first, she was on guard, then she was curious, and now she couldn't help but appear. Chapter 3962. There were many strange comments here that she had never heard of in her life. After half a month of exploration, she had temporarily figured out the people here. She was not a fool. She knew that she could quickly figure out these people's identities because they did it on purpose. They didn't seem to have any ill intentions. They just wanted to make friends with her. If she wanted to speak in the group, she only needed to use her consciousness to control the strange group interface in her mind. During this time, they sent her many red packets. They said that they would not expire. She could click on them whenever she wanted. They also reminded her that if there was someone around her, she must not click on the red packet because the items inside would really appear beside her. This strange group had been in her mind for half a month and had no intention of disappearing. And she found that the people outside really didn't see anything. Those red packets accumulated in the red packet interface. She almost used them many times, but her strong control stopped her. Seeing the people in the group chat for half a month, Empress Dowager Qin felt that there shouldn't be any danger. Anyway, her current appearance was similar to that of the living dead. She really didn't want to give up if she didn't figure out this thing that suddenly appeared. Therefore, she finally decided to show up. Ziyun, Empress Dowager Qin spoke. Qi Shao, I saw it. Everyone come out. Empress Dowager Qin has appeared. Margaret, Empress Dowager Qin, hello. You finally spoke. Shengguan Yonggu, Empress Dowager Qin, do you finally believe that we have no ill intentions? Margaret, the others probably have their own things. The school beauty is currently in the new world, so she probably didn't see it. Empress Dowager Qin, let's get to know each other. My name is Margaret. I am a powerful dark magician and wizard. I come from a magical world that was targeted by the god of creation. Harold, I also come from a magical world. I think I was cursed by the god of creation. I am in the same world as Alan. We are sworn enemies. By the way, my name is Harold. Nice to meet you, Empress Dowager Chin. What a pity. Alan took his students to experience a few days ago. He shouldn't have time to come to the group. Ha, nice to meet you. Empress Dowager Chin actually knew them. Every time they spoke, they would show their identity or name. She also saw that her name was Empress Dowager Chin. They had been discussing in the group for half a month. She could recognize who they were with her eyes closed. These people all had different appearances. Their skin color and hair color were not something she had seen before. If it wasn't for the fact that she had seen a lot in the past, she would have really thought that they were monsters. There had been foreign officials who had come to her country before. Those people had blonde hair and blue eyes, so she was not surprised by this. Empress Dowager Chin, everyone, where is this place? Why is there such a thing in my mind? Chi Shao, this is a plane group. We come from different planes. Empress Dowager Chin being able to come here is fate, we will be friends from now on. Ziyun, according to the rules, the people who can come to this group are basically cannon fodder in the small world. Even if they used to have unlimited glory, they will have a miserable ending later on. Anyway, none of them have good endings. Margaret, I don't know when I'll be able to go from being so glorious to being so down and out. When that day comes, the school bell will definitely come to save me, right? Oh great Creator, I, Marguerite, wish to experience all the sufferings of this world. Empress Dowager Chin fell into silence. She was indeed a bit pitiful right now. Was this the reason why this strange group appeared in her mind? Why was Marguerite so happy? Since there was no danger, she decided to learn more about it. Chapter 3963. Sister Gua, are you ready? It's your turn in 10 minutes. How's your preparation going? Tang Guo opened her eyes and heard this hurried and cautious voice. She was facing a somewhat gorgeous mirror. Tang Guo opened her eyes and looked at the mirror. In the mirror, there was a woman who was dressed very beautifully. However, she wasn't dressed in ancient or modern clothes. She gave off a sense of age. However, in an instant, she figured out what era she was in based on her appearance. Through the mirror, she saw the anxious little girl beside her. The little girl was dressed very plainly and had 2 braids. She looked very delicate. It was like a frightened rabbit. It was as if this body was originally a very fierce person, which was why it was so frightening. How much longer? From the little girl's tone, she could tell that the original owner wasn't a simple person. Tang Guo asked calmly. The little girl didn't seem to suspect anything. She quickly said, there were 10 minutes just now. There should be 9 minutes left now. Wake me up in 5 minutes. Tang Guo didn't care about the little girl's wide eyes and stomping her feet. She leaned back in the chair and closed her eyes. The little girl wanted to call out to Tang Guo again, but she was pulled back by the woman who previously did Tang Guo's makeup. Sister Gua has been performing so much recently. She must be tired. It's not time yet, right? Xiao Tao, you really don't know how to read the situation. Look at the time. Wake Sister Gua up in 5 minutes. Moreover, with Sister Gua's status in Xianless, the guests are all lining up to listen to the song. They're willing to wait for 2 minutes. It's not like we're not performing. Also, Sister Gua has to dress up properly. If the masters outside want to listen to the song and see Sister Gua, they have to wait obediently. Xiao Tao pursed her lips. The makeup artist threw her a pocket watch. Look at the time. Remember to wake Sister Gua up when it's time. Xiao Tao obediently took the pocket watch and sat down on the chair by the door. She anxiously stared at the hands of the pocket watch. Today, the people listening to the song at Xianles were all important people. If it was delayed, would there be trouble? Tang Guo was already accepting the memory. She had analyzed many things from the words of the servant girl Xiao Tao. If she didn't accept the memories immediately, she really didn't know what to do next. Receiving memories was actually very fast. 5 minutes was more than enough. This body of hers was not of noble birth and was only the daughter of an ordinary family. There were quite a lot of members in his family. He had parents, an elder brother, 2 younger brothers, and a younger sister. His father, Tang Chuanxiang, was a gambling addict. He only spent money and did not earn money. He was also in debt, and people often came to him to collect debts. His mother, Wu Feng, was also an ordinary woman. She didn't have much ability. In order to make a living, she often took on some needlework and helped people wash clothes. He was less than 40 years old, but he looked like he was almost 60. What Wu Feng envied the most was scholars. They were more rigid and disciplined. She hoped that her children were all scholars. She didn't want her children to be rich and powerful. She only wanted her children to be upright and upright. Therefore, a singer like the original owner was very cold to Wu Feng. Ever since the original owner became a singer, she had never lived at home. His relationship with his family was rather distant. However, every time she received her salary, she would bring a large sum of money home and give it to Wu Feng. Chapter 3964. In addition, she would subsidize her younger brothers and sisters from time to time and help her father, Tang Chuanxiang, pay off his gambling debts. The eldest brother, Tang Yuhui, has not married yet. In order to reduce the family's burden, he began to work as a coolie at the dock when he was a teenager. He has strength that ordinary people can't compare to, and he is more honest and honest. The second brother, Tang Yuxing, is currently studying in school. He is best at painting and has a dream to become a painter. In the future, he can rely on painting to make money and support his family. Wu Feng likes Tang Yuxing very much and thinks that her son will definitely become a famous painter. The third brother, Tang Yushu, and Tang Yuxing are twins. He is also studying in school. He is a bookworm and is good at writing articles. He often writes some articles and is selected to be published in newspapers. He can make a little money, but it is not much. The youngest sister, Tang Si, is still studying. She is a standard artistic young woman. What she yearned for the most was free love. She didn't like to talk about money. She felt that those who chased after money and fame reeked of the stench of money. Occasionally, she and Tang Yushu will write articles together. Basically, they criticize that money will corrupt people's souls and call for everyone not to fall for money. They should adhere to their own pure hearts and not wallow in the evil like others. Their motto is freedom, equality, and nobility. Family Tang is not well off. This is a chaotic era. Ordinary people live a tight life, not to mention a gambler in the family. The original owner's father, Tang Chuanxiang, is a gambling addict. When they were young, Wu Feng often quarreled with him. Women in this era still have very old ideas in their bones. They can't do without a man in the family. Even if the man is a gambling addict, since they are married, they have to accept their fate. Endure for a while and wait for the children to grow up and become successful. Then, the bitterness would be over and the sweetness would begin. Since the original owner was sensible, people often came to the house to ask for money. Therefore, even if Wu Feng wants to send her and her brother, Tang Yuhui, to school, she can't afford the tuition and books. On her birthday, she wanted a floral dress, but the family can't afford it. It was the eldest brother, Tang Yuhui, who wanted to work at the dock and earn some money to buy her a floral dress. Because of this floral dress, the eldest brother was beaten by Tang Chuanxiang and said that he spent money recklessly. He said that it is a waste of money for a young girl to buy a floral dress. Can't they just use their worn clothes and mend them? Floral dresses were small and expensive, so they couldn't be worn after a few years. Later, the eldest brother, Tang Yuhui, went to the docks to work as a coolie to support the family and make their lives better. The original owner's heart ached for her elder brother. He was so young, yet he had to do such tiring work. Every time he went to deliver food, his eyes would be red. In her heart, she also wanted to help her brother share some of the burden so that his life would be easier. Her brother and mother wouldn't have to work so hard. That year, the original owner was only 8 years old. After returning from delivering food to his elder brother, he passed by the gorgeous Xian Lucy and met a woman coming down from a rickshaw. The woman's wallet accidentally fell on the ground. She walked over quickly and helped the woman pick it up. She even wiped it carefully and handed it to the woman. The woman saw that she was efficient, smart, and clear-eyed, so she suggested that she help with some chores. In other words, she would help out with odd jobs, be this woman's servant girl, serve tea, and so on. At that time, the original owner had asked, "Do I get paid?" He didn't know if it was because this sentence was funny, but the woman was overjoyed. Chapter 3965. Of course there is. How can I not be paid for my hard work? I don't mistreat the little maidservants around me. From that day on, the original owner worked for this woman. She was very grateful to the woman for giving her a job. She did her best in everything she did. The woman sang very well. When she was free, she would teach her a few lines. Her voice was good. Later, the woman simply accepted her as a student and taught her how to sing every day. When Wu Feng found out that the original owner went to work as a maidservant for a girl in Xianles, she was actually very angry. Later, she asked if it was just doing odd jobs. Coupled with the gambling debts, she gave up. But every time, she warned the original owner again and again. Wu Feng basically said, "Big girl, you can work, but don't learn from those people inside. If you dare to learn bad things, I promise to break your legs and never enter this door again." Do you know what kind of people there are? They are all cheap and unclean. I don't know how many people have touched their hands. They are very dirty. You are still young now. When you are 13, you will be considered a big girl. At that time, don't go to that place to work. Mother will ask someone to arrange a marriage for you. As a girl, you still need to find a good home. Time always passed in the blink of an eye. The original owner helped that woman for 5 years. From the age of 7 to 13, she followed the woman and saw a lot. At the same time, she doubted Wu Feng's words. She felt that the woman wasn't bad. She really wasn't as unclean as Wu Feng said. Even if that woman had a big boss behind her, she didn't feel that she was bad. Behind everyone, there was an unknown story. Through her contact with the woman, she found out that the woman was once a young miss of a big family. But because of some reasons, she had to go to Xianles to be a singer. But when she was 13 years old, she still listened to Wu Feng. She explained her situation to the woman. She had to listen to her mother and couldn't serve by her side. The woman smiled, as if she had already expected it. "I won't keep you, although you are a good seedling. But this place is not a good place. Not many people can be independent. Naturally, it is good to be able to leave. Little girl, sometimes I really envy you." The original owner didn't understand these words. She only felt that this beautiful woman was good and different from others. "Go, leave this chaotic place and return to your peace." I hope that you won't need to use the skills I've given you in your entire life. The woman gave the original owner a sum of money and sent her away. No one would have expected that when the original owner was 15 years old, she would return to Senlis and become a singer here. With a beautiful song and a beautiful appearance, she quickly became a popular figure in Senlis. The reason why she came back was that the debt collectors had come again. If she didn't pay up, they would chop off one of her father's hands. Secondly, her younger brother and sister had reached the age of going to school. Wu Feng really hoped that the family could provide for a child to go to school. She took on countless jobs every day and was so tired that she fell sick. Therefore, she returned to Senlis as a singer and rejected the marriage arranged by Wu Feng. Wu Feng was still seriously ill at that time, so she didn't know about this at all. Just relying on his eldest brother's hard work alone was not enough to repay the debt. His younger brothers and sisters were still young and could not help. After earning money, she paid off her family's gambling debts, sent her younger siblings to school, and sent her mother to the hospital for treatment. Chapter 3966. Part of the money was in advance, so she signed a 10-year contract with Senlis for this. In other words, she had to sing at Senlis for at least 10 years, or she would have to pay a large sum of money for breach of contract. She didn't think too much at that time, only thinking that this was the only way to solve her family's problems. It was worth mentioning that the woman who had taken her in as a student a year ago was no longer in Senlis. Later, her status became higher and higher, and she even asked people to inquire about that woman's whereabouts. Even the boss of Senlis didn't know the situation. The only thing she knew was that that woman used a large sum of money to redeem her freedom. When her mother, Wu Feng, recovered from her illness and found out about all this, she was furious and came over every day to ask her to go home. She had already signed a contract with Senlis, and even if she didn't sign it, they had given her money in advance, so how could she go home? Besides, there were many times when the family needed money, such as her father's debt and her younger siblings' schooling. Knowing Wu Feng's stubbornness, she simply moved to Senlis. Seeing her so stubborn, Wu Feng also threatened that as long as she was in Senlis, she would never return to that home. That home was clean and couldn't have any filthy things. She used to live in a small room in Senlis, and later became more and more famous, so Senlis arranged for her to live in a luxurious villa. She seemed to have changed a lot, but the only thing that didn't change was that she didn't forget that home. She gave her family living expenses on time every month, paid for her younger siblings' school fees, and occasionally subsidized some. Perhaps because of Wu Feng's influence, her younger siblings were indifferent to her, especially her younger sister, Tang Si, who felt that she was a person who was willing to do anything for money. She was the kind of person that Wu Feng said was unclean, so her attitude towards her was very bad. The only one who treated her the same as before was her older brother, Tang Yuhui. Tang Yuhui would occasionally come to see her, and every time he saw her, he would say that she had suffered. He also told her that if she couldn't continue, she should stop. He also said that he was already working for the big boss, and when he became successful in the future, he would help her redeem her freedom and find a good marriage for her, so that she could marry grandly. Because of this, her older brother never married, as he felt that he still had many things to do and couldn't delay a good girl. Unfortunately, her older brother died in an accident. After her elder brother died, no one in the family spoke up for her. Her family even thought that she was the one who killed her elder brother. Wu Feng said, "If it weren't for you, would boss run around with boss and encounter an accident in the end?" Every day, the heavens are nagging that you must earn a lot of money and let you leave Senlis. If he didn't care about you, then today's matter wouldn't have happened. The gambler's father, Tang Chuanxiang, also pointed at her nose and scolded, "You are a jinx." Her two younger brothers were very silent. They didn't say anything to blame her, but from their attitude, it was clear that they did blame her. Tang Si was more agitated and scolded her directly. Your soul has been corrupted by money. It's all because of you. If it weren't for you, Big Brother wouldn't have worked so hard and had an accident. Perhaps she really felt that it was all her fault. She felt very guilty and wanted to take good care of this family. Later on, his younger sister, Tang Si, fell in love with a poor brat who fought. She even said something like free love, a prodigal son turning over a new leaf, and she had to be with the other party. Of course, Wu Feng didn't agree. She felt that her daughter was a university student after all, and her future partner should be someone with knowledge. No matter what, it couldn't be a poor brat who only knew how to fight and cause trouble all day long, right? Chapter 3967. Wu Feng tried to persuade her twice, but she didn't expect Tang Si to be so rebellious and would often quarrel with her. Wu Feng was at her wit's end. When the original owner returned home, she mentioned this matter to her and asked her to help persuade her. Tang Si's younger brothers and sisters had never experienced true poverty, especially Tang Si. When she was 2 or 3 years old, the original owner was already working as a servant girl by that woman's side. That woman was actually very kind. She knew that her younger brothers and sisters were taking care of her at home, so she would often find an excuse to bring back good things for her. The reason why her younger brothers and sisters could grow up so well was all thanks to her work. When she became a singer in Xianles, she didn't mistreat her younger brothers and sisters. She didn't want them to suffer like she did, so she treasured them very much. If it wasn't for life, who would be willing to sing in that place? Even if they sang for a living, in the eyes of the world, they were still unclean. Tang Si fell in love with a poor boy who only knew how to fight. She didn't care about anyone's objections and wanted to be with him. The biggest reason was that she didn't know what poverty was, and she didn't know what it was like to be cornered. Her current good days were all given to her by others. If it wasn't for her own hard work, she wouldn't care at all. She didn't know that this kind of life wasn't easy to come by in this era. Many people still didn't have enough to eat. In this era, in order to eat, it was very common to sell children, especially girls. If their family wasn't doing well, many couldn't avoid the fate of being sold. The original owner suffered, especially her mother Wu Feng, who was dragged down by Tang Chuanxiang her entire life. If it wasn't for this family, how could she have fallen to singing in Xianles? After hearing Wu Feng's words, she specially went to Tang Si's school to find her. She waited for Tang Si at the school gate. She didn't expect Tang Si to scold her. Why are you here? If there's something, can't we talk at home? This was Tang Si's attitude. In this memory, Tang Si's expression was very ugly at the time. She was also looking around, as if she was afraid that someone would find out that she was familiar with the original owner. Yes, Tang Si was afraid that a good artistic young woman like her would lose face if people found out that she had a singer sister. In their circle of students, they looked down on those who became singers. They thought that those filthy places were places corrupted by money. The original owner was very popular at that time, but she was still recognized. Tang Si was very angry, but she didn't make a big fuss because of her face. Later on, she even told her classmates that she and this sister of hers were just two passers-by. Since they were young, she had never listened to her family to distance herself from them. Some male students criticized those singers who were corrupted by money, but when no one was paying attention, they would secretly watch the singers sing. However, they didn't have much money in their bags and were very shabby. They couldn't talk to the singers, eat at the same table, or even give flowers to them like the other big bosses. They couldn't even get a proper look. These male students felt humiliated and their self-esteem trampled on. They thought that these female singers were all trying to curry favor with the rich and powerful and only had money in their eyes. Now, they would use harsh words to criticize those singers, just as they were infatuated with those singers. This meeting was not a pleasant one. The original owner explained her intentions, but before she could finish, she was interrupted by Tang Si. "It's none of your business. This is a free love affair, you have no right to interfere. If you want to interfere with me, why don't you take care of yourself? In the future, don't come to school." Chapter 3968. The original owner didn't dare to speak harshly. After all, the relationship between the two sisters was tense. Ever since her elder brother passed away, she felt more and more guilty towards this family and cherished them even more. She had the idea of saving money to redeem herself. However, the contract she signed with Xianla Si stated that the penalty would increase with her value. After saving enough money, she might not have much left after redeeming herself. Otherwise, she could only wait until the 10-year contract was up. There were still 5 years until that day. 5 years could change a lot of things. When the two sisters parted on bad terms, the original owner still gave Tang Si some money to buy what she liked. If there was anything she needed for her studies, she didn't need to save. Tang Si had an expression that said, "Even if you give me money, don't expect me to not care about anything. I'll listen to you. I'll never forget that my elder brother died because of you." In the end, she reluctantly accepted the money. Later, the original owner tried to persuade her a few more times, but it was to no avail. Tang Si and that poor boy called Zhou Guan loved each other fiercely, regardless of anyone's objections. Her free love and resistance to old ideas were praised by many students in the student circle. Some people even wrote articles praising their sincere love. Zhou Guan wasn't a simple poor boy. Tang Si didn't know at first that Zhou Guan's mother was a dancer in a nightclub. Later, she found out that perhaps because she loved Zhou Guan, she had a filter on the people around him. Plus, she heard that the other party had resolutely given up her identity as a dance queen for love, leaving that place and becoming an ordinary woman. However, she had entrusted herself to the wrong person. That man didn't want to marry her at all. She didn't regret it and still worked hard to raise Zhou Guan. So, Zhou Guan was the illegitimate son of the big boss. In this era, it was normal for big families to have several wives. And when men talked about things, they would always go to those romantic places. It was common for them to meet women. Zhou Guan's appearance wasn't unexpected. Many of those women in those romantic places wanted to marry into a big family and become a concubine. It was better than being in the limelight every day. Thinking about it, Zhou Guan's mother wasn't as noble as Tang Si said. The only thing she didn't expect was that her big boss was just putting on a show and didn't intend to marry her. In the beginning, the Zhou family left Zhou Guan to fend for himself. They didn't care about him. The Zhou family didn't lack sons. Mrs. Zhou didn't allow illegitimate children to enter the family. During this period, Zhou Guan and Tang Si caused a lot of trouble, but most of it was settled by the original owner. In the beginning, it was because of their relationship. Later on, they had to pay for it. In the end, they even had to pay for it. The Tang family people thought that the original owner had completely fallen. Seeing that she often went to various places with the big boss and lived in the big boss house, they disliked her even more. They felt that having such a person in the family was a disgrace to them. When the original owner returned home, Wu Feng would pour a basin of water to wash her feet at the door, splashing her all over. Since then, the Tang family had never allowed her to step into the house. Wu Feng no longer recognized the original owner as her daughter, and her two younger brothers avoided the original owner. Tang Si revealed a look of disgust whenever she saw her. That's right, at this time, Tang Si had some ability. Finally, she no longer needed to spend the original owner's money. Looking at the money that the original owner gave her, she could finally take the money and throw it at the original owner's face. She said what she had always wanted to say, "I don't care about your dirty money. After what you've done, I don't have a sister like you. In the future, don't treat me as your sister. We're not the same kind of people." Wu Feng added, "I don't have a daughter like you." Chapter 3969. Tang Chuanxiang didn't say anything. He just sat there silently. He was thinking that he couldn't break off his relationship with this daughter who could make money. Otherwise, who would help him pay off his gambling debts? Rely on the three little ones. Did the three little ones have the ability to do that? He owed quite a lot of gambling debts. The original owner left sadly and didn't return home. But she still paid attention to the family's affairs. Knowing that her younger siblings were doing well, she didn't care and lived like the living dead. When debt collectors came to her door, she would pay them no matter how much they wanted. Over time, Tang Chuanxiang gambled more and more. When her contract with Xianles expired, she didn't renew it and announced her withdrawal. That year, she was 25 years old. She bought a small villa and stayed in it all day. She didn't see any visitors, rejected the pursuit of her admirers, and occasionally helped Tang Chuanxiang pay off his gambling debts. Unknowingly, the family's property was emptied, and the villa was sold in the end. But the gambling debts were still not paid. Tang Chuanxiang flew into a rage out of humiliation and sent the original owner to the creditor. But just as she was sent to the creditor's house, she died. Her death was very quiet and sudden. The doctor checked and found that it wasn't poison. It was probably an old illness. She had just turned 30 years old when she died. Seeing that Tang Chuanxiang couldn't pay, the creditor first broke his arms and went to trouble Tang Si and her siblings. At first, the siblings were at a disadvantage and almost lost their lives. Especially Tang Si, she almost lost her virginity. Later, Zhou Guan came to save them. Now, Zhou Guan was no longer that poor boy, but the legitimate young master of the Zhou family. How did Zhou Guan get promoted? That was to say that the two outstanding sons and one daughter of the Zhou family died in accidents. Old Master Zhou had already passed away. Old Madame Zhou was reminded that Zhou Guan was a descendant of the family and happily welcomed him back. At this time, Mrs. Zhou was too sad to do anything else. All the wealth of the huge Zhou family belonged to Zhou Guan. Zhou Guan was now young Master Zhou. It was easy for him to deal with small troubles. Later, after a series of setbacks, Zhou Guan and Tang Si finally got married. The original owner had long been forgotten. When people talked about her, they only knew that she lived in Xianles for 10 years. No one knew how bloody the story behind the glamour was. Perhaps in the eyes of the Tang family, she had brought this upon herself. Tang Chuanxiang, who had lost both of his arms, finally stopped gambling. Under the care of Wu Feng, he lived his life peacefully. The two brothers, Tang Yuxing and Tang Yushu, had also made some achievements in their fields. One of them became a slightly famous painter, while the other was very good at writing essays and was known as a great talent. Tang Si had her own love and became the young mistress of the Zhou family by accident. She was once praised for her relationship with Zhou Guan. Everyone said that it was because of her kindness that she was able to pick up a pearl. The ending was so harmonious and perfect. There seemed to be no problems at all. Miss Host, 5 minutes have passed. You should have finished reading the content. Also, Empress Dowager Qin has appeared in the group, but you probably don't have time to read it now. You have to perform on stage. Yes. Tang Guo responded. After receiving all the memories, she naturally knew what the next performance was. Singing was her forte. Moreover, she was quite familiar with the music in the original owner's head. After receiving the memory, it was basically her own. Sister Guo, 5 minutes have passed. The moment Tang Guo opened her eyes, the little girl from before came over with a pocket watch. She reminded her nervously, Sister Guo, it's time to go on stage. 3 to 4 minutes will pass very quickly. Tang Guo glanced at the little girl indifferently. She didn't argue with her. She just nodded slightly and stood up from her seat. Chapter 3970. Relying on her memory, she walked in the direction of the stage. Her mind was still recalling the song she was going to sing this time, and her mouth was humming along. Hey, what's going on today? She's humming a song and seems to be in a good mood. Who knows? She usually doesn't have a good expression when she goes backstage. Who knows what's wrong with her? Young people are full of vigor. She thinks she's great just because she's popular. Unless, there are many people who can be popular. Later, she will know what it means to be a new generation. No one will always be at the top. Smart people are already looking for a way out for themselves at this time. Yeah, I heard that the previous one, didn't she leave when she was at the peak of her popularity? I heard that she redeemed herself. I don't know where she went. There hasn't been any news about her these years. That one, aw. There are so many big bosses who like her. Just pick one and you won't have to worry about the rest of your life. Let's not have extravagant hopes. You say it as if you've seen it with your own eyes. At that time, weren't we still playing in the mud on the street? You don't say. I've seen that one's elegant demeanor from afar. Indeed, there are very few people who can compare to her. It is said that every time she performed, the guests in the cabaret would be full. Our Xianl's entrance even had people stop to watch. Several singers were discussing in the dressing room. In fact, their hearts were extremely sour. This one can't be compared to that one for the time being. Now, every performance was also full. What are you guys talking about? At this time, the manager came over and scolded the singers, if you have time to discuss here, it's useless. You might as well practice your voice and practice your basic skills. After the manager scolded them, he turned around and left. His eyes looked in the direction of the stage. This one, wasn't she personally taught by that one? Otherwise, how could Xianles give her such generous conditions? Worthy of being taught by that one, she really didn't disappoint. Tang Guo was going to sing 3 songs today. The first song was her own choice, and the other 2 songs were ordered by the bosses in the cabaret. After 3 songs, several hours had passed. The guests who watched the singing and dancing felt that time passed quickly and regretfully left. Tang Guo refused the invitations of those bosses to eat and went backstage to remove her makeup. Then, under the escort of the security guards, she returned to the residence that Xian Lisi had arranged for her. It was a very luxurious villa. The manager of Xianles did not reject the invitations of those bosses at all for her sake. This was their Xianl's signature dish. How could they casually go out to eat with others? Even if it was a simple dinner, it was not something that ordinary people could invite. If anyone could be invited out, then this signboard would be worthless. If there was really a very important person who wanted to see her and invite her to have a meal together, they would inform the manager in advance and come over to remind her. Tang Guo refused with a clear conscience. She felt no pressure in her heart. She still had a lot of things to do, such as figuring out this world and going to the group to see what was going on with Empress Dowager Qin. For the time being, she didn't plan to leave Xian Lisi. She still planned to use her identity as the singer of Xian Lisi to do something big. The system seemed to have smelled some danger and was calling for someone to come quickly. Tang Guo looked at the schedule. Her next performance was scheduled for the day after tomorrow. The people of this era were still very good at hunger marketing. Just this kind of arrangement was enough to entice people to no end. Chapter 3971. However, this body did indeed have a very good voice. In addition, the songs at this time all had a very special charm. As long as one sang with one's heart and emotions, it was very easy to move one's emotions and make one follow her unknowingly. School bell, hello everyone, I'm in the new world. I heard that Empress Dowager Qin has appeared. Margaret, okay, I knew it. It's not me this time. Oh my God, my great and wise God of creation, are you targeting me or are you asleep? Okay, I'm done venting. You can speak freely. Qi Xiao, sister, how's the situation on your side? Zi Yun went to refine pills. Yun Tian has a new understanding. He's currently in seclusion. I don't know when he'll come out. Shengguan Yungu, Uncle Master, Empress Dowager Qin has accepted everything here. Maybe my background is similar to her world. With my help, Empress Dowager Qin finally understands and accepts this group. School bell, unfortunately, Empress Dowager Qin shouldn't be here. Margaret, maybe she's being abused. This old lady is quite pitiful. People come to bully her every day. She can't resist. She can only stare. She lives like a living dead. Oh, I think she's the one targeted by the God of creation. School bell, what's going on? Shengguan Yungu, maybe this is the cannon fodder law. Anyway, those who enter this group shouldn't have a good ending. Looking at everyone's experience, I think Empress Dowager Qin is a bit miserable. Margaret, actually, if the school bell goes to Empress Dowager Qin's world first, I don't have any objections. After all, this old lady is really miserable. Empress Dowager Qin, Margaret, don't call her old lady. I'm only 40 years old this year. I'm not old. Qi Xiao, Empress Dowager Qin is here. This is our group leader, the school bell, and also my sister. She's more powerful than us. She can travel through worlds at will. Since you're in this group, she might go to your world in the future. School bell, Empress Dowager Qin, welcome. Empress Dowager Qin, thank you. I thought my life would be like this. I didn't expect such a magical thing to appear in my mind. I met a group of interesting people like you. Empress Dowager Qin had completely accepted this group and roughly understood it. School bell, Margaret's words, you don't seem to be well. Empress Dowager Qin, actually, I'm used to it. It turned out that Empress Dowager Qin had been poisoned by some unknown poison. Her entire body was stiff and could not move, only her head was normal. Today's Empress used the excuse of visiting her every day to bully her, beat, and scold her. Empress Dowager Empress, Empress Dowager Qin, Empress Dowager Empress. Empress Dowager Empress Dowager Qin, Empress Dowager, Empress Dowager Empress Press. Empress. Trying, since meeting. Empress. Group name. The original owner didn't know how to read at first. Later, she followed that mysterious woman and the other party taught her how to read. In fact, her handwriting was very good, even better than her brothers and sisters in the family, but she never showed it. In her heart, how could she not want to go to school like an ordinary person? Chapter 3972. That mysterious woman was a lady from a respectable family. Her knowledge was not something an ordinary person could compare to. She had taught her a lot. The reason why she did not show off in front of others was because she did not want to show off. She did not want to be too perfect. The mysterious woman said that if she did not have enough power to protect herself, she would easily fall into a trap and no one would be able to save her. Tang Yu Hui, Shou Ji, Shou Mo, Shou Ruoxue. Madam Host, why did you write down their names? The system was confused for a moment. Dear host, are you planning to prevent an accident from happening to Brother Tang? Nothing has happened yet. I know when these accidents will happen. Of course, I have to stop them. Also, the young master and young lady of the Zhou family must be saved. Tang Guo stared at the 4 names on the paper. If the young master and young lady of the Zhou family are still alive, Zhou Guan will have nothing to do with them. Zhou Guan was able to get such a big advantage because the Zhou family did not have an heir. The system agreed. Dear host, you are so thoughtful. There is still some time before these things happen. I plan to do something else. Tang Guo took out an unused letter paper from the drawer. Under the system's puzzled gaze, she began to write the words stroke by stroke. When she finished writing, the system was a little surprised. Dear host, are you writing an article? Yes. Tang Guo said casually. I don't perform every day. I'll write an article and submit it to the newspaper. The system was still a little confused. Why was Tang Guo in such a leisurely mood to write an article? After thinking deeply, it still did not think that the host was doing something boring. Every time she took a step, she definitely had her own ideas. Tang Guo wrote for 3 hours. This article, after deleting and editing, was a total of 3,000 words. After the system read it, it felt that it was a good article. Tang Guo gave herself a pen name, Mountain Man. She also gave the article a title, New Stories in Troubled Times. She put the finished article into an envelope, put a stamp on it, and sent it to the mailbox. The newspaper should receive her article in a few days. As for whether or not the news agency would accept her article, she had transmigrated to so many worlds and had so much experience. If the news agency didn't like what she wrote, it would be a joke. Moreover, the things she wrote were all based on the current era. Her words were sharp and full of criticism. Throughout the entire article, there was almost no gentleness to be found. The content of the article did not match her pen name at all. This was exactly the effect she wanted. Once her article was published, the people who read it would definitely notice her pen name as long as they understood it. Then, he would definitely fall into deep thought and finally understand why she was called a person from the mountains. A person from the mountains was a person who had once lived in seclusion in the mountains. It was the literal meaning. Then why would the people in the mountains write such a fierce article? Of course, it was because the world was in chaos. The people in the mountains could no longer sit still and decided to come out of the mountains to wake the people up. However, Tang Guo only had one goal, which was to let all the scholars in this world know about the existence of the mountain people as soon as possible. Later on, she would find time to write some articles and submit them to the news agency. After writing this, Tang Guo went downstairs to look for the servants. How could such a big villa not have at least 2 servants to help take care of it? Not only would there be servants to clean the house and cook for her, there would also be a butler. Chapter 3973. As for the little maid named Xiao Tao, she wasn't one of her people, but rather someone arranged by Xian Lisi. When she went to Xian Lisi, she would help her with things like serving tea and water. Tang Guo found the housekeeper, Uncle An was about 50 years old. Uncle An wasn't arranged by Xian Lisi, but rather a housekeeper that she found herself. Uncle An was originally called Enhua. He was an escapee and happened to meet the original owner. The original owner saw that he wasn't an ordinary escapee and asked him if he could read. After learning that he could, she hired him as the housekeeper of this villa. "Miss, do you have any orders?" "Uncle An, I want to learn some new things." Tanghua sat on the sofa. "After all, you can't sing forever, right?" Uncle An nodded amiably. "It's good that Miss has thought things through so clearly at such a young age." Uncle An also felt that now that Tanghua was young and sang well, half of the reason why people came to listen to her was because she was young and beautiful. If one day she wasn't young anymore, so what if her singing was good? She still couldn't compare to a newcomer. If one didn't have a skill, it would be really hard to survive in this world. Moreover, this era wasn't completely without opportunities. This was an era of change, so it was right to learn more useful things. Singing was a meal of youth, but wasn't being beautiful also a meal of youth? He had seen many girls in Zion Lisi. Most of them wanted to make a fortune, find someone to marry in the future, and live their lives honestly. However, there weren't many who could have a good ending. There were also some who wanted to use this opportunity to become a concubine in a rich family, but how many were truly successful? Even if they were successful, would becoming a concubine really mean that they could rest easy? He was afraid that if he went to that big house, he would have to continue to fight with the women behind him. Without a man or woman under his name, life would still be difficult. If one day the master didn't like him and kicked him out, then he would really have no one to help him. "Uncle An, can you help me find some teachers who know how to draw? I want to learn how to draw. Also, hire a foreign language teacher for me." "Right, I also need a musical instrument teacher. Right now, I usually perform once every other day. The rest of my time is basically arranged by myself. If I stay at home all day and do nothing, I might as well learn some things. Money isn't a problem. As long as the teacher is good, any amount is fine." Right now, she really wasn't short of money. Soon, she would be even less short of money. Because if she didn't give the money to the Tang family, she didn't know how much she could live. After taking her money, they still complained that she was unclean. These people were really greedy and bitchy. Since he despised her money for being dirty, then he was not allowed to take it anymore. He had to think of a way himself. Uncle An's a child's mother. Of the rich young masters and young masters he had seen in the past had learned 10 or 20 skills at the same time. He thought Tanghua was good at painting, music, and foreign languages. He didn't expect Miss Tang to be so far-sighted. Tanghua gave the money to Enhua in advance and told her to find the teacher as soon as possible. Of Estes for now, she was for a while back. Ants, force, S of this, A's is A, S, S. Hua, S, her words. Of course. She planned to serialize another cautionary article when she wrote it. Chapter 3974. She sent it over bit by bit, and when she was free, she would write a little. A day passed just like that, and Tanghua did not go anywhere. Actually, according to the original owner's personality, she would not go anywhere today. She would just stay in the study and read. Uncle N and the servants in the villa all knew that she could read. Uncle N even knew that she had good handwriting. After all, they had been together for a long time, and the original owner did not deliberately hide it, so it was normal for them to know this. Uncle N was a tight-lipped person, and he never talked about it. At the same time, he also reminded the servants in the villa not to talk nonsense. At this time, the pay at Tanghua's place was better than other places, and the servants did not want to lose this job. In other rich families, there were many things to do, and the pay was not as high. If they lost this job, they probably would not be able to find another one as good as this one, so they cherished it very much. The next day, Tangguo performed at night. Her performance time was sometimes in the day, sometimes in the night. It was always uncertain. Xianles was a very high-class nightclub, and she could be considered as Xianle's signature. Sometimes she would perform every other day, sometimes 2 days. The day before each performance, Xianles would hire people to advertise the time of her performance on the streets. Then, those who were waiting for her performance would rush to buy tickets like a swarm of bees. Among them, there were many scalpers, which were people who speculated on tickets. This kind of profession existed all the time. However, the tickets that these scalpers snatched were all booked in advance. They were afraid that they would not be able to get the tickets themselves, so they hired these scalpers and paid them a certain amount of commission. Those who could do this were either rich or respectable. The scalpers were not so arrogant as to raise the price. They basically charged a commission for the ticket price, which was still acceptable. And those people did not care about the double price. Of course, if they were of a higher status, they only needed to call Xianles or instruct someone to go to Xianles, and they would be able to get the tickets in advance. But under normal circumstances, this kind of privilege would not be used. After all, this was considered as owing a favor, and it was not good for them. At night, Tangguo went on stage again. The number of times she sang was very fixed. Basically, she was free to sing 3 songs each time, and at most 5 songs. Therefore, it always gave people a feeling of wanting more. In the end, they could only stare at her back, wishing they could stick their eyes on her body. It was a peaceful day. When Tangguo returned to the villa, it was already very late. As soon as she stepped through the door, the housekeeper, and Hua, came up to her. "Miss, the teachers I contacted for you have all been confirmed. As for the specifics, we still have to wait for them to come over tomorrow to discuss. As for the arrangement of the classes, I have already explained it to them. We still have to follow Miss' schedule." "No problem. What time are you coming over tomorrow?" 9 o'clock. "Okay, tell the kitchen to prepare lunch." Tangguo was quite anxious about this matter and hoped to arrange these courses as soon as possible. She needed to give people the impression that she was more talented in this area and that she could achieve it quickly. Tangguo asked about the identities of these people and found out that they were all teachers of a school in the city. After hearing the news, Tangguo was even happier. And Hua actually did not say anything. At the beginning, he had sought out a few very famous singers, but when they heard that he was going to be a singing teacher, they rejected him. It was better not to say these unnecessary things to upset the young miss and hurt her. Chapter 3975. And Hua had found these teachers because she had inadvertently heard about some things and asked some of her friends. She discovered that these teachers had excellent skills and had experience studying abroad. They were more open-minded and didn't care about her status as a singer at all. Moreover, they had published articles before. He had read these articles and felt that compared to the pedantic ideas of some scholars, these people's ideas were truly innovative. He believed that these were the right teachers for the young miss. The next day, Tangguo woke up at 7 a.m. and practiced a set of martial arts in her room. The world wasn't very peaceful these days. There was no spiritual energy in this world, so she couldn't cultivate. However, practicing martial arts wasn't a problem. If she could reach out a little, she could still save herself if something happened. It was better than screaming. At 8 a.m., she had breakfast. When it was close to 9 a.m., the 3 teachers and Hua had invited for her arrived. They were the art teacher, music teacher, and foreign language teacher. The art teacher and music teacher were both men, while the foreign language teacher was a woman. All three of them had outstanding appearances. What caught Tangua's attention the most was that their eyes were very bright. When they saw Tangua, there was no trace of contempt in their eyes. Instead, they were filled with curiosity and thirst for knowledge. Clearly, they were curious as to why this popular person from Xianlisi would want to learn art and foreign language from them. If it was music, they wouldn't find it strange at all. Perhaps this popular person wanted to raise her professional standards. The art teacher, Qing Han, had 7 years of experience studying abroad. Although he wasn't famous, and Hua had seen him and found that his professional preparation was quite good. He was currently teaching art in school and was 35 years old. The music teacher, Yin Yu, had 10 years of experience studying abroad. He was younger than Qing Han, only 30 years old. He was very talented in music and was best at the piano and violin. Of course, he also knew a little about the guqin and pipe. He could play most of the other instruments, but he wasn't proficient in them. The foreign language teacher, Zhu Shishir, had gone abroad with her parents at the age of 10. Because she missed her homeland and felt that she could do something, she returned to her homeland at the age of 20 and became a teacher in school. She felt that she should bring back the knowledge she had learned and the languages of other places and teach them to the people of her homeland. She had been teaching in school for 7 years now. Zhu Shishir was very popular in school because she was young, beautiful, and very kind. In the eyes of the students, she was a woman of the new era. When she was in school, she often received love letters from students. At this time, for students to write love letters to their teachers, as long as they were educated, most of them would be able to accept it. They would even support it. They would think that this was a revolution in thinking. Wasn't this the pursuit of free love? Hello, teachers. Thank you for accepting me as your student. Tangua smiled and invited them to sit down. The few of them nodded kindly. In fact, they didn't have any students with such status, so they didn't have any prejudice against this profession. It was just that they had seen too little. Or rather, they had never seen a female singer willing to improve herself. So when Enhua spoke, they agreed without hesitation. The music teacher, Yin Yu, had heard Tangua sing before. Not only that, he often came to listen to her singing. It was just that they had never met before. He always hid in a corner and listened quietly. He always felt that her voice was very beautiful. Now that he had such a student, he felt very excited. Zhu Shishir felt that no matter who it was, as long as they were willing to accept her knowledge, she would teach them well. Qing Han was still considering. He wanted to give it a try. After all, he had never taught such a student before. Chapter 3976. If she had talent in this area, he naturally wouldn't miss out on such a student. If her talent was mediocre, then he could only teach her at the level of an ordinary student. Following this, Tangua and the others discussed the curriculum. Her performances were usually scheduled a week in advance, so they could arrange a week's worth of lessons in advance. After the discussion, it was almost noon. The food was already prepared, so they ate together. After the meal, Qing Han and Zhu Shishir said that they would go back to prepare for her lessons. Only Yin Yu didn't leave. Tangua asked with a smile, "Teacher Yin, do you have any other questions? Are you free this afternoon? If you don't mind, we can start the lesson now." Although he didn't have an instrument, it was fine if he didn't have one for the first lesson. Of course. When Tangua brought Yin Yu into the classroom, he was stunned that there were instruments he didn't know how to play. This was a very large room. Not only were there instruments, but there were also drawing tools and even a large bookcase. It was obvious to the naked eye that this room was divided into 3 sections. It was probably specially prepared for the 3 teachers. Yu was a bit excited. This student was very eager to learn. The two didn't waste words and immediately started the lesson. Because Tanghua had a foundation, Yu didn't start from the basics. Instead, he tested her first and then taught her what she didn't know or what she was prone to making mistakes. Whether it was the original host or Tanghua, there was no problem with singing. Her pronunciation was very accurate, and Yu felt that there was no need to teach her this. Then he asked Tanghua, "What instrument do you want to learn?" "Teacher, you can teach me whichever one you feel inspired by first." In any case, she knew all the instruments here. Teacher Yin's role was to give her a source for her skills. This time, she had to be in the limelight. "Then let's go with the piano." Yu felt that this was more reliable. The study room was tightly shut for the entire afternoon. And Hua moved a chair over and sat outside the study room, afraid that Tanguo would have some instructions. When he heard the music coming from inside, a smile appeared on his face. When the sky was almost dark, the music inside stopped. As the sound of footsteps approached the door, and Hua quickly stood up and opened it. He thought that he would see a tired Tanguo and a tired teacher Yin. Unexpectedly, when he saw the two of them, it was different from what he had expected. "Tanghua, you really are a genius. I've never seen a genius like you before." Yu's face was flushed red. He looked at Tanghua excitedly. "You seem to have a performance tomorrow. If it's possible, you can give me the remaining time of your performance." "I have 2 classes tomorrow, both in the afternoon. I'm very free in the morning." It was not easy to meet a talented student. He had to grab hold of him and teach him everything he knew. He really hoped to witness the day when she shone brightly. "I won't charge you for tomorrow's class." Tanghua smiled. "We still have to accept the money. After all, this is Teacher Yin's labor." "That's not important. Anyway, it's fine as long as you're willing to give me your free time." Would a person who could study abroad lack money? As long as this student was willing, he could do anything. And Hua sent Yu off in a daze. She was somewhat surprised by this result, but she also felt that it was only natural. After all, her family's young miss was Xianl's signature. It didn't seem like a big deal to her if she was a bit amazing. The next day, Yu came to teach Tanguo again. On the 3rd day, Tanguo did not perform. Qing Han taught her art in the morning, and Zhu Shishir taught her foreign languages in the afternoon. After the two of them finished teaching, they both felt that they had picked up a treasure. When they returned, they completely changed their previous teaching plans. Geniuses did not need to study step by step like this. Geniuses were different from ordinary people. Seeing how excited they were, Tanguo could only say sorry in her mind. In this world, she had to shine brightly. Before she knew it, it was the end of the month, and it was the day when Xianles gave out her salary. This day was also the day when Tanguo took her salary and took a rickshaw home to give money to her family. Chapter 3977. Today was payday. Tanguo purposely didn't arrange any classes for herself. It could be considered a holiday for herself and the teachers. Coincidentally, she didn't have a performance today. After receiving her paycheck at Xianles, she took out several envelopes. According to the habits of the original owner, she put the money for the family Tang people into different envelopes. Although she didn't plan to give the family Tang people any more money, she still needed these envelopes to put on a show. She walked out of Xianles and got on a rickshaw. The coachman took her to the alley where the family Tang people lived. The family Tang people had always lived in a narrow alley. The house wasn't big and only had 3 rooms. One of the rooms was neither big nor small for Wu Feng and Tang Chuanxiang. The biggest room was for the 3 family Tang brothers. The last room was slightly smaller for her and her younger sister Tang Si. Because she moved out of the family Tang many years ago, there was almost no trace of her existence in that small room. It could be considered as her younger sister Tang Si's personal room. In the past few years, every time she came back, the number of times she stepped into that room could be counted on one hand. Tang Si basically treated that small room as her personal space. She put all the things that once belonged to the original owner into a box. At first, the box was still in the room. Later, when she wanted to put things like a desk, she felt that the room was too small, so she moved the box outside. It was the eldest brother of the family Tang, Tang Yuhui, who felt that it wasn't good to leave it outside. If it got caught in the rain, the things inside would definitely be damaged. Tang Yuhui also thought that one day his eldest sister would come back to live with him. So he put the box in the 3 family Tang brothers' room and occupied the position next to his bed. Tang Si didn't care about this. She felt that as long as there was nothing in her way, it was fine. Now, as long as she went out, Tang Si would lock the room. Not to mention Tang Gua, even other people couldn't enter that room without her permission. At first, Wu Feng wasn't satisfied, but she slowly got used to it. Tang Gua thought that Tang Si's actions showed that she was looking down on her as an elder sister. If it wasn't for the fact that the other party couldn't be independent and relied on his own ability to earn money, he might have already told her that all the money she earned was dirty money, just like in the storyline. She really wanted to know what Tang Si would be like when she no longer had this self-help with dirty money. While she was thinking, Tang Gua had already arrived at the alley that led to the family Tang. The alley was rather narrow, and the rickshaw could not enter, so it could only stop here. She was dressed plainly today, but there was something special about her. No matter how plain her clothes were, they were still dazzling when she wore them. She slowly walked towards the family Tang restaurant and finally arrived at the entrance of the family Tang restaurant. The door was ajar, which meant that there should be someone inside. She could even hear the sound of clothes being washed from inside. It should be Wu Feng helping someone wash clothes. She gently knocked on the door and heard a woman's voice. "Who is it? The door isn't closed. I'm busy with work. Come in." Tang Gua pushed the door open. Perhaps the door hadn't been repaired for a long time, so it made a particularly ear-piercing creaking sound. She took 2 steps into the small courtyard, and her gaze fell on Wu Feng. She was indeed sitting on a stool, washing clothes with all her might. Perhaps she sensed that someone had come in, so she subconsciously raised her head. When she saw Tang Gua, she wasn't too surprised. Chapter 3978. Perhaps because the original owner came on time every time, Wu Feng knew that she was here to deliver money. But Wu Feng had always been dissatisfied with this disobedient daughter. Not only was she disobedient, but she also showed up in public. Now when she went out, she often heard those men talking about Miss Tang of Xianlisi. If they could get tickets to Miss Tang's performance, they would feel that it was worth it even if they died. Wu Feng couldn't bear to hear these words. She only felt ashamed. Tang Gua had embarrassed her. Thinking of this, Wu Feng saw Tang Gua in front of her and her face couldn't help but sink. "Why are you here?" It was a line that would never change. Wu Feng clearly knew that Tang Gua was here to deliver money, but she still couldn't help but say this. Tang Gua knew that Wu Feng's next sentence would definitely be, "Didn't I tell you not to come back? If people saw you, they would gossip about you." Don't you think that our family hasn't lost enough face? However, Tang Gua knew that many people were actually very envious of the Tang family. Even if they said unpleasant things, they were envious in their hearts. Those unpleasant words were mostly because they didn't have a daughter like the original owner who could send a large sum of money back on time every month. This was a chaotic world. Where did Face come from? It was already good enough that they were still alive. What was Face? It was something that people would only think about after they ate and didn't go hungry. Talking about Face with you on an empty stomach was bullshit. Sure enough, Wu Feng began to nag. Her words were full of disdain for Tang Gua. Look, we are a good family. Why do you have to show up in public and sing to men? Isn't that a disgrace to the family? Our old family's face has been lost because of you. Wu Fengnian muttered a lot and said all the words she could think of. Do you know how unpleasant their words are? Hearing this, Tang Gua couldn't help but interrupt Wu Feng. Mom, if I don't do these things, can our family still live? You can live a good life. Why can't you live a good life? The rich have their way of living and the poor have their way of living. It's better than doing these disgraceful things. Now, my family's reputation has been completely ruined by you. After so many years, I thought that Mom had already accepted it. I didn't expect that she still thinks that the money I earn is not clean. How clean can the money earned from singing be? Wu Feng was furious. You smile at men all day long, and I heard that you occasionally eat with some big bosses. Do you think this is normal? How shameful. Fortunately, you don't live in this house. Otherwise, I don't know how many people would come to laugh at you. Tang Gua took out an envelope from her bag and held it in her hand. She looked at Wu Feng indifferently. Mom, I came here to give you some money. Take it away, take it away. I don't care about your dirty money. Haven't I told you many times? I told you not to take it back. Our family is very good. We don't need your dirty money to support us. Got it. Tang Gua answered calmly. At first, Wu Feng didn't notice anything. She was a little surprised when she saw Tang Gua put the envelope back into her bag instead of shoving it into her hand and leaving as usual. System, are you laughing to death? Are you very surprised? There will be many more such accidents in the future. Hurry up and take care of your heart. I didn't expect that after all these years. I was afraid that we wouldn't have enough money to live. Hearing Mom say this, it seems that I was worrying too much. Chapter 3979. I thought that as long as I subsidized my family a little, life would get better and better. I didn't expect that I would cause so much trouble for my family. Tang Gua said slowly. Wu Feng felt strange in her heart. Now that I'm in Xianlisi, I can't go back to the past. Even if I quit halfway, it's too late. I still have to pay an expensive penalty. I know that I've embarrassed you and made things difficult for you. Second brother, third brother, and little sister have all grown up. There's nothing for me to do. The more Wu Feng listened, the more she felt that something was wrong. Tang Gua didn't give her a chance to speak and continued, Mom, since you think I'm a disgrace, I won't come back in the future. The money you think is dirty money. I won't take it back to humiliate you again. I've made things difficult for you all these years. I didn't expect that my behavior would cause you so much burden. Take care. After Tang Gua finished speaking, she didn't give Wu Feng a chance. She turned around and left while Wu Feng was still in a daze. I should have figured it out long ago. Now that I'm in Xianlisi, I can't help myself. What I do every day is a disgrace to you. Coming back every month will indeed cause you trouble. In the future, just pretend that you don't have a daughter like me." At the door, Tang Gua added. Because she saw Aunt Gua passing by. Every time at this time, she would pretend to pass by, but in fact, she was here to listen to the divination. Tang Gua didn't give Wu Feng a chance and closed the door. Aunt Gua was also stunned. Seeing Tang Gua's sad face, she hurriedly asked, Family Miss Tang, what's wrong with you? My mom thinks I'm a disgrace and doesn't want my money. I didn't expect that after so many years, she still can't open the knot in her heart. Tang Gua sighed, she's a stubborn person. Now that my brothers and sisters have grown up, I really don't have to do anything. I won't come back in the future, so that she won't see me as if I'm the plague. Tang Gua didn't give Aunt Gua a chance to ask again and quickly walked away in her high heels. The rickshaw driver was still waiting for her outside. Seeing her get in the car, he pulled her away. Tang Gua didn't go home. Instead, she asked the coachman to take her to her younger sibling's school. This was what the original owner used to do. Every time she gave Wu Feng the largest share of money, she would go to school and give her younger siblings living expenses. Speaking of which, it was a joke. She had just turned 20 this year, and her second and third brothers were only 3 years younger than her. They were 17 now. His younger sister, Tang Si, was currently 15 years old. In this era, she could be considered a young lady. Tang Gua collected her thoughts and prepared her feelings. The reason why he planned to break up with his family in this way was because he did not want to give them money. That was because the Tang family members were all prideful and would not take the initiative to expose the fact that she did not pay. In the future, when they had no income, they would only secretly become angry out of humiliation and make a fuss about her identity as a singer. However, in Tang Gua's opinion, being a singer wasn't shameful. Moreover, wasn't the original owner of the body a singer because of her family? If she really wanted to expose everything, she was sure that she would not be the one to be embarrassed. Instead, it would be the people from the family Tang, as well as the few artistic youths who believed that they should be free to love and not pursue money but their dreams. Artistic youths. If she had a realistic nightmare, she would be cured of all the artistic youths' problems. Let's see if they would still dare to gnaw on her flesh and blood and say that their souls were corrupted by money. Her 3 younger siblings were not in the same school. The first person Tang Gua met was her second brother, Tang Yuxing. Chapter 3980. Where's Yushu? Tang Gua asked Tang Yuxing. In fact, she knew why Tang Yushu didn't come. Tang Yushu was a person full of bad taste. He carried the tradition of the old era in his bones and had special double standards. He thought that it was a very shameful thing for his biological sister to be a singer. It was simply a disgrace to him as a scholar. Therefore, every time Tang Gua came, Tang Yushu came out to meet her. Tang Yushu was afraid that if he saw Tang Gua, he would attract other people's attention and be laughed at by his classmates. Several good friends knew their relationship with Tang Gua. Occasionally, they would tease him, which made Tang Yushu feel very embarrassed. He disliked this sister who sang in Xianlisi even more. Yushu is not free. Tang Yuxing didn't even call her sister. He just stood there woodenly. The reason why he didn't leave was that he was waiting for Tang Gua to give him money. His dream was to paint. Those who knew this industry knew that no matter when, it was very expensive. Only buying paint was a bottomless pit. Behind a famous painter, there must be a mountain of paint consumption. But he also wanted to save face. It was impossible for him to ask for money. He looked down on singers. As a man, wouldn't it be a joke if he asked a singer for money? Every time I came over these years, I gave you money. Did I cause you trouble? Tang Yuxing was a little impatient. He frowned and said, "What's the matter? Just say it. I have to go back to painting. Now you won't even call me sister." Tang Guo's tone was still flat, but there was a touch of sadness, as if there was an unsolvable sadness in it. Tang Yuxing didn't care at all. In his opinion, she was moaning about nothing and had many problems. She had put down her dignity to be a singer. Shouldn't this result have been expected a long time ago? He had done something shameful, but she still wanted him to call her sister. If his classmates saw this, they would definitely laugh at him. "I won't come again in the future." Tang Guo suddenly showed a very gratified expression, but in the depths of her eyes, there was a deep sadness. "You've all grown up. You don't need this elder sister anymore. For you, I have countless stains on my body. You should take good care of yourselves in the future." Then, under Tang Yuxing's incredulous gaze, Tang Guo took the small bag and slowly walked towards the rickshaw. Tang Si was not in the same school as the two brothers, but it was not far from here. It only took a few minutes on a rickshaw. This time, Tang Guo was here mainly to cut off their source of income. When she saw Tang Si, her face was full of reluctance. "What's the matter? Hurry up and say it. I still have an activity with my classmates later." "Si, are you also unwilling to call me sister?" Tang Guo looked at Tang Si with a hurt expression. The system, who was hiding in the dark, was trembling. He was most afraid of his host's acting. It was really scary. The more she acted, the more unhappy she was. She had already fully understood what kind of people this family was. They were pretentious, arrogant, and shameless. She had to take advantage of this. Tang Guo could easily cut off their source of income. They were different from some scoundrels. They thought of themselves as scholars and had innovative ideas. They couldn't put down their dignity to ask a singer for money. When Tang Guo said this, Tang Si's face changed. Chapter 3981. Tang Si reprimanded, "Aren't you just embarrassing our family with all the things you've done? Of all the things you could have done, why did you have to be a singer? Do you love money that much? You've been corrupted by money from head to toe. You're asking me why I don't call you sister. Do you think you're fit to be my sister? All right, hurry up and say what you want to say. Don't look like I've bullied you. It's annoying just looking at you. When the other students see you, they'll think that I've done something to you. Don't think that you can hide the things you've done by pretending to be pitiful." Tang Si's words made Tang Guo uncomfortable. These ingrates really didn't understand their situation. "If I'm not a singer, who's going to support you? Who's going to pay for your education? Who's going to pay for your beautiful hair clips and dresses?" Tang Guo knew Tang Si well. She was someone who loved face and couldn't let go of her dignity. In fact, she knew how to spend money more than anyone else. She always said that money was useless and that she shouldn't pursue it. However, she didn't have to worry about food and clothing now, which was why she was so stubborn. "All right. Do you have to listen to everything I say just because I've spent your money? I'm not your toy that you can buy with money and order around. Wasn't it your own wishful thinking and forcing it on me? Now that I don't call you sister, you're bringing up old scores. You really love money the most. Don't worry, I'll return it to you in the future. I'll return it to you 3 times the amount. I really don't care about your dirty money." Tang Si couldn't help but shout. She couldn't stand what Tang Guo said just now. It was simply infuriating. "You're really a big girl now. You have your own ideas." Tang Guo smiled faintly. Her expression was filled with sadness that couldn't be erased. Tang Si was in a rage. Stop acting pitiful in front of me. Hurry up and leave. Don't come to school anymore. I'll return the money you spent. Don't worry, I won't give you a single cent less. So, don't come and judge my life. I won't in the future. Tang Guo's tone was still as indifferent as ever. You've all grown up. Since you don't need me as your elder sister anymore, I'll naturally disappear from your world. I won't embarrass you. Tang Si had a bad feeling in her heart when she saw Tang Guo smile at her. Tang Guo took out an envelope from her bag. I wanted to give you some pocket money at the end, but it seems that I don't need it anymore. Hurry up and take it away. I told you not to give me money. I don't need you. Not everyone is like you, unable to live without these things. After Tang Si said this, she saw Tang Guo put the envelope back into her bag. Alright, you're a big girl too. I'll respect you this time. In the future, I won't disturb you anymore. Tang Si was stunned. She watched as Tang Guo turned around and got into the rickshaw. She didn't look at her anymore. She looked very sad as she was taken away by the rickshaw. Tang Si stood in place for a long time before she was suddenly woken up by a gust of cold wind. She subconsciously looked at her hands. Sure enough, there was no familiar envelope. Thinking of the previous scene, Tang Si stomped her feet in anger. It's dirty money to begin with. Who cares? After saying this, she returned to school. A few of her close friends surrounded her when they saw her and asked, Tang Si, did your sister send you money again? Don't ask. I didn't take her money. That money is dirty. It's hot to me. Tang Si said angrily. On the other hand, Tang Yuxing went to the library to look for Tang Yushu. Tang Yushu was reading quietly. When he saw him, he said, only you have the leisure to see her. Tang Yuxing found a seat and sat down in silence. Tang Yushu felt that something was wrong. What's wrong? Chapter 3982. Were you teased when you came back? Tang Yushu couldn't be blamed for thinking this way. As Tang Guo became more and more popular in Xianles, the relationship between them couldn't be hidden at all. Tang Guo didn't see them at all when she went home every month. In order to see them, she would only come to their school. Perhaps it was compensation for them, and she would give them a lot of money. When the students saw it, it was inevitable that they would gossip. Therefore, Tang Yushu basically didn't go out to see Tang Guo. Tang Yuxing was different. In fact, his monthly expenses for learning painting were quite high. If it weren't for the money Tang Guo gave him, he wouldn't be able to support his painting studies at all. Learning painting required money everywhere, especially for students in this line of work. Who didn't have a lot of money at home? If they didn't have a lot of money, they wouldn't dare to learn painting. In fact, Tang Yushu also needed this money very much. The reason why he wasn't so anxious was that most of his money was used for parties, unlike Tang Yuxing who couldn't be short of any money. Besides, Tang Yushu himself wrote some small articles, so he didn't go to parties often. The money he earned from his articles was enough for him to spend. Tang Yuxing was different. He only had expenses and no income, just like Tang Si. No. Tang Yuxing shook his head a little irritably. When I came back, I didn't meet anyone else. In fact, in school, students rarely laughed at them. They were all classmates, and there was no hatred between them, so they wouldn't always talk about it. But they just felt that Tang Guo's appearance would make them lose face and lose face. Then what's the matter? By the way, how much money did she give you this month? Tang Yushu said this to remind Tang Yuxing to remember to give him his share. But as a scholar, the reminder had to be tactful. He couldn't let people think that he valued money very much. If it weren't for the blood relationship, I really wouldn't want to accept her money. If I don't accept it, she'll probably come over again and attract attention. Tang Yushu sighed as if he was forced to accept Tang Guo's money. If Tang Guo was here, she would really scold him for being shameless. At this moment, Tang Yuxing finally spoke. She didn't give me any money. Tang Yushu was ready to criticize Tang Guo's view on money, but he didn't know what to do after hearing her words. He looked at Tang Yuxing blankly and suppressed the panic in his heart. After a long while, he asked Tang Yuxing, "What happened?" "She thinks it's embarrassing and doesn't want to do it anymore." They all remembered that Tang Guo had signed a contract with Xianles for 10 years. She was already so popular. Would Xianles let her go? Could it be that she also felt embarrassed, so she redeemed herself and used all the money she had earned as compensation? Before, his whole family had hoped that Tang Guo would make such a choice. For some reason, Tang Yushu felt very upset and didn't think it was a very good way. He even wanted to write an article to scold her, but he couldn't find a suitable topic to scold her. She said that she understood us and knew that we were in a difficult position. Her previous behavior had embarrassed us. She also said that we have all grown up and need her to take care of us. She wants to respect us and won't force us to accept money in the future. Tang Yushu said these words in one breath, and his heart was very flustered. In fact, Tang Guo gave him a lot of pocket money every month, more than the salary of many people who worked for several months. If he had a plan and spent all the money on painting, he could really hold on for a long time. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.